And it shows up in how he asks questions. It shows up in him saying, "Can I help you?" Oftentimes he wants to know how much he's going to be paid, which I also taught him to do. Like I will invest. Yes, would you like money? Absolutely. Here's how you can earn it. And I think that we're always our kids through the work that we do, and it's the more that we can bring them in to participate, not as free labor, but as lessons, life lessons. I mean, there's so many. We know that there are a million life lessons to be learned as entrepreneurs, and when we can pass those down to our children by help allowing them to participate in the process in some way, it's just a gift that we've given them. And so, I always forget what the initial question is because I kind of go on my own little tangent. But
You did
yes,
it.
I did. Okay, well then there we
Yeah.
are.
I love that you have involved him, and I think that my kids at different levels want to participate, and some things they get to do for the roof over their heads and the joy that they get to be for living in my home. And there are some things that I'm happy to pay them for because I would pay my assistant to do them or pay somebody else to do them. And so I'm grateful for them to have some of those experiences for working and for money and to understand that too. So I love that you've involved him in that.
And tax breaks. Tax breaks,
Yes.
you
Oh
guys. Pay your
yes.
kids.
That's right.
Great tax
I had a
breaks.
little I had a little
Yeah.
onesie for my son when he was born, and it said my little tax break.
Yeah, see?
And
It
I
just
will
keeps
also
on
say
going.
My
a lot
accountant
of
saved
my
our bacon at the
consulting
end of last
clients.
year, reminding us of that one.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
that's really good. I would say I've often consulted with people that are family businesses, and they're multi-million dollar family businesses. And there's so many dynamics that happen when you're working as a family in a business, and the gamut, right, of emotions and energy and conflict. And so you have to have the skills to deal with that. But one of the things that I believe, and unfortunately not everyone believes this, is you can't force your kids to be a part of your business. You can't force them to work in the family business because all you have then is someone who's resentful. And so I always made it a choice for my son. There's no choice in earning money. Now, how you earn it from me is your option. So you can earn it packing tea or you can earn it taking out the trash. That's a decision that you can make, but you're going to earn it. So the non-negotiable is you need to earn money. How you earn it, that's up to you. And so I think that we need to be mindful of not forcing our kids to work within our business and giving them options. And I think and when we give them options, they're more apt to enjoy the process and say yes when we do ask them.
What a great
Yes,
lesson
I
just in general in life to know that, you know what, whatever there is on the buffet, you are always at choice.
mhm.
Mm,
Yes,
absolutely.
give them choices. And they get to understand the consequences and the blessings and the benefits that come from each of those choices too. Okay, well, I
Hmm.
want to hear about your kids and your families too, Stacy and Amy. So let's go to Stacy first and then Amy. How do you involve them? How do you explain what you do and how do they support you?
So I wasn't as evolved as a parent initially with my kids with participating in business. It was like, sit down and don't you see me on the phone? So it was like I had to work through a work in
Keeping it real,
progress.
Dr. Sage.
Keeping it
Keeping it
real.
real.
Keeping it real. I
Exactly.
admire you, Naja. You are my hero. I admire Michelle and Monica and Amy. That wasn't initially it because my kids were always with me and they would
Yeah.
participate young, but I would be on presentations doing calls and they want to scream and tumble and jump. And that was my mistake without separating because they were so used to being with me all the time that it was a little bit of like, oh my God, I am not this mother that can deal with the noise and still present. So I had to learn that it's not my kids' fault. They didn't choose to go into business. So I had to learn how to recalibrate when they were younger, especially my oldest. And then as they started growing, here's mistake number two that I made. I'm just keeping it 100% in our League of Extraordinary Women. I used to do a lot and still do a lot of volunteer work, but I knew there was a problem when my son went to school and told his teacher that I worked for my sorority. I was like, what? They're not paying the bills. But it just showed me the balance of
Oh,
time that I was putting in. And that was like, whoo, that was an eye opener just from a child's perspective, how they viewed the work that I did. And then as he got older, my oldest, he would help out at events because I still own an event company and he would put things out and I would give him negotiate fees because I'm a West Indian woman and there was nothing about getting paid for doing the thing that you were supposed to do in your house because you live here and you breathe and you have clothes. So
Now, come on now,
See,
pass the offering
it
plate.
was none of that. None of that. Like, you have a meal on the table, you got clothes on your back. I don't hear nothing about. I didn't know what allowance was. My mother was like, "What? I allow you to live." So I had to learn. I had to learn about. Okay, maybe we can compensate and give some encouragement for doing your chores, etc. Fast forward to today, where my two sons are 19 and 13, and the 19-year-old, I call him Samoa Fair because he's just there for the camera, lights, and action. And the youngest one, I call Old Man Jenkins because he was here before. And they both participate in different ways now, and they understand it because we started to sit down and have family discussions and family meetings about the business and what I'm doing, where they can benefit, what's the benefit to them. And I'm really excited because Old Man Jenkins has a love of music. He always has, getting in trouble in school for talking, humming, tapping, just can't keep still, talking in class. Well, he got that honest, but he always had his love for music. So now he's actually DJing. And he's very good and he has an old soul. He's DJed for adult events, networking events, and programs that I've had. And that's his space. He has his business cards now. And my husband does photography and videography. So we have this granted group, which is another level to what we're building. And Old Man Jenkins is on the wheel of steel, like he's been DJing for 20 years, but it's old music. It's not the current, what you would think a child would be with the hip hop. I mean, he listens to some of that, but he knows how to appropriately play music for business events. And that's the niche that we're building him out in and having a good time. And he's doing his projections and realizing what it is that he wants to do. And I'll just share this last thing in closing. When I believe it was Michelle and Najee were talking about different stories or times when your children said something to you. We were driving in the car coming home from a hospital visit, just to give you context, nothing about business. And he looked at me and he said, "Mom, you're building this the right way." I said, "Excuse me, son?" At that time, I think he was 10 going on 11. He said, you're building multiple streams of income." My husband was driving. He almost crashed the car. I was like, "Is this 10-year-old back here talking about multiple streams of income?" But he knew it. And I said, "What does that mean?" He said, "Oh, Ma, don't worry about it. I'm going to be your FA when I get older." I said, "My FA?" He was like, "Financial advisor, Ma." I was like blown away. 10 going on 11.
CFA,
Like,
if you're right. You're certified financial advisor.
10 going on CFO of some of your company.
Yeah, clearly. So that's a running joke with my team that he's going to have us trading on NASDAQ before I know it. But that's the joy in them seeing what you do more than what you say. And
That's
it's
exactly
evolved.
right.
So went from crazy mommy telling us to shut your mouth, don't you hear? To, okay, so let's talk about how we're going to increase these revenues and how you're going to build your space. Because at the end of the day, I'm turning this over to you all. Prayerfully, you keep it and grow it. But if you can't, that I can do the right things to scale it so you can sell it. So at any rate, that we work this thing together as a family. And my kids are two of my greatest supporters in addition to my husband. And it's been a joy, them seeing all the mistakes I've made, but being able to bounce back. And that's what my oldest said to me just maybe a year or two ago. He said, "Mommy, a lot of people don't see what you go through on the back end, but I just want you to know that I see you and thank you for the sacrifice." So I'm getting teary-eyed saying it because that's the joy of children. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
I love that. Thank you.
Awesome.
Amy, share about your family and your kids. Oh, wait, sorry.
Yeah, I would love to. I also want to just invite people, those of you who are joining us and you're watching on Facebook, head over to watchnow2017.com. And if you have some questions that you want to ask us, post in the chat. I think this conversation right here, honestly, for women in business is probably one of the most critical conversations. And you all have situations that you've got going on that you look at and you go, I can't do it because. So ask some questions. We'd love to give you some ideas and some feedback. So join us on watchnow2017.com. Post your questions in the chat box. That is actually the only way that we're seeing your questions real time because we're streaming to all of our individual Facebook channels. And so if you post on one of our channels, we're probably not going to see it right away. So post them in the chat and we'd be happy to answer those. So I started my first business when my oldest son was about 2 months old. So my children have always grown up in an entrepreneurial household. They don't really remember me any other way. However, in the beginning, my business was very much a hobby. And what I found is the places that are more challenging for kids are when you're in transition. And so they adjust to how it is, and then business changes and things change and the needs change. And that's when it's kind of challenging. And I think what the mistake that sometimes we make is we try to keep them so that they don't see, they only see part of the experience. Does that make sense? It's like we only want them to see the part where we're celebrating and we're taking you on the trip and we're doing this and we're doing that, and we try to protect them from the rest. But what happens in the process is they don't know what's going on, and so they don't anticipate the change. They don't understand that it's coming, and then when they get into the change, they blame the business for the change. And so what I've learned to do, and by the way, I said learn because I'm like Stacy, I didn't wake up being as good at this as I am right now. Is like kind of, oh, that's hard for you? Okay, let me see. How can I do this differently next time? And so I've learned to talk to my kids about what's coming up and where are we going with the business. And my oldest son, I drive him to. He does an early morning Bible study class every morning. I drive him to school. We leave the house just before 6 a.m. And as we drive to school, I'm always talking to him about what's going on and what I'm thinking about and where we're going. And he's like, you have different conversations. It's like you're always talking about what's going to happen and what you're creating. Like, and most of the time you do it. So um, that's something that I found is even though he's in that teenage stage where he kind of complains about it, I think that's really important for them to know what's coming up. The other thing that I remind my kids, because I think if we try to, and I did this when they were younger, I tried to make it so that my kids would never have to sacrifice for my business. And then I just realized that doesn't work. Of course, they're going to sacrifice for my business, just like I sacrificed for their education, just like I sacrificed for my husband to be able to be the young men's president in our church and lead all of the teenage boys. Just like I sacrificed for them being able to do band, of course they're going to sacrifice for my business. And so instead of trying to avoid the sacrifice, what I try to do is when they're feeling the pain of the sacrifice is really listen to what they need. Because here's the thing that I know. They don't need or want me 24 hours a day, right? Like me, 24 hours a day, I'm a little intense and my humor is really funny for a little while and then I get on their nerves, right? So they enjoy it for a little bit and then they're like, oh, mom. And so what they do need from me is their emotional needs to be met. So, for example, my second son came to me recently, and he was talking about he was having a hard time. He's the nurturer in the family, and so he is a specialist with his younger brothers, and he is sweet and he is kind and he's loving, and he takes on making sure that everyone else feels okay. And so he came to me recently, and he's like, "You're always on calls," and I'm thinking, "What is he talking about? I'm always on calls. I'm actually not always on calls because." I'm on the call for maybe 30 minutes after you get home, and then I'm off the call the entire time that you're home, and I don't get on the call before you go to school. So in my mind, I have to not listen to the words of you're always on calls, and I have to say he's not getting something that he needs. And so then I don't go to the business being the problem first. What I go to is what does this child need? And it came out that what was going on is he was taking on trying to make everyone else feel good, and that's a lot to manage for an 11-year-old guy. So we had to talk about it and say, you know what, you're not responsible for making everyone feel good. You're not responsible for taking care of everyone. We love that you're such a sweet kid. We love that you are kind to your brothers, but that's not your job. And they're responsible for making themselves feel good. And so for me, a lot of what has been the blessing in parenting is I've learned because I've had to some really important lessons. I've learned that it's never it's never the family that makes it so you can't do business, and it's never the business that makes it so you can't do family. It's always, what is your intention with family and what is your intention with business? And if you're committed to both of those things, you figure out how to make them work. And then honestly, the skills that you learn, oh my gosh, I mean, haven't you all coached your children through challenging situations because of what you know in business? My son was having conflict with his band teacher, and he was like, "What do I do, mom?" And I pull out my book. I'm like, let's go to the chapter on conflict resolution." And we go through it, and he's like, "Okay, I got a plan in place." Um, my my third, this year, he was given a project in school to make a difference, and he came and he was giving me these ideas, and I was like, let's think bigger. What is some of the biggest problems in the world right now? And we talked about some of the biggest problems. He wanted to help with the refugees, and he's like, well, how am I going to do this? I was like, well, let's think through, how can we market it, and can we build you a website, and what can we do? And his little school in an area that like 95% of the kids are on free lunch programs because we live in a really poverty stricken area. His little school raised like $400, something like that. I mean, it was a lot for what his little school could do. And so the skills that you learn raise up your next generation. So don't feel bad about being in business, and don't blame business if you're not showing up the way you want to as a mother. Show up the way you want to as a mother, and show up the way you want to as a business. And then it's just a matter of figuring out how the pieces fit together. And it
I
is
love
not always perfect. It is not always pretty, but I am always prayerful about it. And God and I have this agreement that we made a long time ago. But when I take care of my family, then He blesses my business. And that's just our arrangement. So I know it's always going to work out. I'm always going to be able to take care of my family, and my business is always going to be fine because we have that arrangement. And I just want to say, I'm sure He'll make it with you too. Just in your
I
prayers, be
love
like,
it.
can I have that Amy Walker deal? I want the Amy Walker deal. And I'm sure it's going to be a yes.
I love it. I love
I
it.
love that.
Such great
Okay,
points, Amy.
so I'm going to shake things up for just a minute, and I'm going to ask you 2 questions in a quick little lightning round, and I'm going to ask you directly to answer. And I'm going to tell you a spoiler alert in advance so that you can think for just a second, but this is really quick, fast. What I want you to tell me is, what is your favorite part about motherhood? And it can be completely separate from business or anything else. And then I also want you to tell me in your in this quick little lightning round, what something is that you outsource, whether for business or for personal, that makes it so that you have more time with your kids. Okay, Monica, I'm going to you first. What is your favorite part about motherhood?
Well, now that my children are grown, my favorite part of motherhood is just witnessing how they're coming into their own. I mean, it happens when they're small as well, but they have very specific physical needs and logistics issues to be worked out, sending people to soccer practice and so forth. And so my favorite part of mothering is, and this is something that Cheryl mentioned in the chat, is that I am able to ask them questions as though they have their own answer. Like, it's not, I don't want my words and my opinion and my ideas to come out of your mouth. That's just manipulative ventriloquism. I really want you to come up with your own answers and your own ideas about how you think this should go. And so to it, what that allows me to do is to take the pressure off of me of always having to be the one with the answer. It also allows them to be curious and to explore. And just because something feels heavy doesn't mean that you just shove it out right away. Whatever that emotion is, or that thought, or that circumstance, it gets them in the idea of, like, I can be explorative with this. I can roll up my sleeves and get to work. I can own my own emotions. If I'm angry about something, if I'm frustrated about a grade, if I'm frustrated about a friendship, or whatever it is, I can be with my feeling. I can have my feeling and not let my feeling have me. And then I can just get into my creativity about, how do I want to move forward with this. So I'm always inculcating that idea of, you're always at choice.
Excellent. And what's
I
one
love
thing
that.
that you outsource?
Gosh, what don't I outsource? I outsource massages. I outsource housekeeping. I outsource driving. Thank God for Uber and Lyft. I outsource errands. There's a great resource called TaskRabbit.com, and some
Ooh,
of them pick up your
taskrabbit.com.
mail. They pick up
Mm.
they pick up your dry cleaning, whatever those little errands are that I don't have time to do because I'm busy doing something else. TaskRabbit.com is an amazing way to do that. And then the other thing that I outsource is, like I said, with the emotional thing, sometimes you just have to outsource taking on everybody else's emotional burden. And so sometimes the my favorite thing to outsource is to say, are you going to be okay with this? Do I need to get mad for you? Do I need to get sad with you, etc. And just be really honest about what's happening here emotionally, because like Amy said, a lot of times the thing isn't about fixing the problem that's facing you. It's not the surface thing. It's what's happening underneath that requires attention, and then everything else
Yeah,
fixes itself.
I love that. Okay, Dr. Stacy, what's your favorite part about motherhood, and what's one thing that you outsource?
She's not edgy. Famous part She's not of edgy, motherhood. I think we have
We got some background noise.
We have some background with Naja. I was like, I know you said lightning. I know you said lightning rod, but I'm like, that wasn't me. I thought it was a voice from above.
Hey, listen, we got all kinds of magic going on here.
We got it. Okay. So
we got it. She's muted.
Favorite thing. Awesome. So favorite thing about motherhood for me is creating traditions. And quick tradition, just because of my own craziness, we put up the Christmas tree on Christmas Eve. And it wasn't because it was this lovely, nice tradition. I just never could get it together until the night before Christmas. So I just decided to make it a tradition, and my kids knew no better. So it's become something they look forward to. That's our family time, getting together, food is cooking, music is playing, and we made that a tradition. So that's my favorite part of motherhood, is creating these crazy traditions that we can sit and laugh about and talk about, watching them grow. And what I outsource, I finally learned how to automate and outsource using Infusionsoft and having someone on my team who can manage automating a lot of the systems and training. And that has been just such a woosah that you can let one thing go so that you can concentrate on the rest. So those are my two one things. And thank you for the lightning rod. This has been amazing, Michelle. Awesome job on this panel. I don't want it to stop. I just want to come in and hug everybody and give you kisses. Okay, let me behave. All right.
We're going to go deep in a minute, so just prepare for that. We're going light, but then we're going to go deep. Okay, Amy, share with us your favorite part about motherhood and one thing you outsource.
So first of all, motherhood is my favorite thing in life. I love it. So I cannot tell you one, but I'm going to tell you a couple. I love kissing baby fat necks. Like, that's heaven on earth to me. I love having family dance parties. Like, we watched the Troll movie, and at the end we had this epic dance party in the living room. I love being silly with my kids. We'll be out in public and we'll all of a sudden just start doing like ridiculous silly walks, which they think is really cool until they hit about 10. And then it becomes even more fun because they get super embarrassed about it. I love when they're in that space of learning, and you get to experience new things with them and see the world through fresh eyes. I love story time at bedtime. I am a awesome story reader. I do all the voices, and if we're short on time and we don't have time for the story and the song, I just opera sing the story, and so we get them both done at once. So I love motherhood. To me, like, motherhood is just the best. I love being with my kids, and that's my happy place. And honestly, I was thinking about this recently. Someone was like talking about, what are you great at? And I thought, you know what? When I look at my husband and I look at all the good that we get to do in the world, I feel like the one thing I would say we're great at is we're great parents. We really are. And not perfect. Okay. Perfect and great are two different planets. I will never arrive on planet perfect, but I do hang out on planet great when it comes to parenting. And it's not because everything looks perfect, but it's just because I truly love the experience of it. So that leads into my, what do I outsource? I actually outsource a whole lot more in business than I do in home and family. So I do have somebody that comes and cleans my house. And before my kids were in school, I did have a nanny that came into the house. But right now, the only thing that I'm outsourcing is once a week deep cleaning. And trust me when I tell you that living in a house full of 5 boys, I still end up cleaning in between. So trust me.
Sometimes you want to clean so that you won't be embarrassed when they get here.
Oh yeah, every single week. Like, I have to clean before the cleaning comes, because I'm like, how in the world did it get? It's been 1 week. How in the world, But put it all back together. And so I outsource a lot in my business so that I can really be present with my kids, because that's what I love. You guys, I'm so much more fun as a mom than I'll ever be as a business coach. I really believe that.
I love that you say that, Amy, because and I am saying this from the other side, right? My children are all grown because they're only a child once. They're only a teen.
Mhm.
Even as terrifying as it might seem, or as frustrating as it could be sometimes for them to go through their adolescence, they're only 14 ones. They only have one prom. They only have one, well, in my case, they have several high school crushes because they're just boys like that. But they only go through that phase of their life once. And so now that I am older, I think if I started to have children now, I would be a different mom than I was when I had them,
Yeah.
my children, because I was
Mhm.
18 and 19 when I had my children. So I appreciate you mentioning all of that stuff because it takes me back to, really getting down to the bottom of it. And at the end of the day, it is those relationships and those memories that you create that will make business even more sweet and those frustrations more tolerable because you know that at the end of the day you got that big fat baby neck to hug.
Oh, I love baby. I
I
don't
love
have many
that.
babies to kiss their necks anymore, but I do love baby neck kisses.
Mm. Mm. Good baby neck kisses. My favorite part of motherhood used to be when my kids said funny things. And now that they've grown up, they don't say funny things anymore, which is really tragic. I mean, the other day, my 9-year-old called his underpants box elders instead of boxers. And I loved it so much because he doesn't ever say anything funny anymore. But he's like, I wear my box elders to bed. And sometimes dad wears his box elders to bed. And mom wears her box elders to bed. And I was like, I'm not correcting you. You're 9. But it's just adorable. But now my favorite part about being a mom is when they surprise me with something that they understand that I didn't think they did. And watching them learn something is like amazing to me. Like my mama heart explodes when I see them getting something about how they should treat someone or how they should respond. And
Mhm.
I love that. That's my favorite. And I outsource everything. I remember sitting on a panel at an Amy Walker event at Boondocks, no less, when Tiffany
Ah, I love that.
Cochran and I were talking about the different things that we outsource. And Amy asked us the question, what don't you do? What don't you do as a mom and an entrepreneur, which I think is a great question.
Mhm.
And Tiffany was just talking about how much she loves folding her kids' laundry. And I was like, oh, I do not. Like, I'm so fine if you want to fold your kids' laundry and if you want to come fold my kids' laundry. But that's like my number one thing to outsource. And I have a girl in my neighborhood that comes and does it. I pay her $5 an hour. I do all the laundry in one day. She has to do like 6 loads. She is thrilled that I'm paying her to do something besides flipping burgers or wiping snot-nosed kids. And I am thrilled that I am not folding laundry. But
Mhm.
what's great about all of this is that we can all outsource our own things. And what I think is important as we transition to this part of the conversation is that I know many women entrepreneurs who feel beyond interested in doing their business, they feel called to do their businesses.
Mhm.
And they know that it's important to them. And so the biggest struggle that they have is, can I grow a business and still be married and still be an awesome mom? And I see this limiting belief that comes up where it has to be a choice. And I believe in the and so much. And I also believe in the principle that just because you're called to do it doesn't mean you have to do it alone. And so we're
Mhm.
allowed to bring people in to our lives to either help with housework or whatever that might be, or to be in our businesses to help with our Infusionsoft and our automation so that we can still do our callings. And that many of us feel alone in our businesses at times because we don't have that kind of support in place. And so now I know that each of you have gone through different
Can
levels
I
of this
share
yourself.
something?
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, can I share something with this? Because I've seen many, many women go through this feeling as well of being called and feeling like they've got to do this, like it's so intense and it's inside of them, and they feel like it's what God wants them to do. And I want to just put a little bit of a different spin on it, okay? Because the truth is, God loves you no matter if you are a stay at home mom or you are a woman who's rocking out in business. He loves you if you
Mhm.
drive trucks or if you serve the kids their sandwiches in the lunch line at school. And this feeling of being called almost turns into sometimes a feeling of being compelled. And then it is accompanied with guilt on both sides. I feel guilty because I have this calling to do this mission. And yet at the same time, I feel guilty because I have this calling to serve in my home and family. And I'm not really doing either one very well. And what I have really come to understand for me and for many of the people who feel this is the calling came because you expressed the desire. You wanted something. You wanted to be able to impact, to serve, to help. And so then God matched your desire with a call. And He said, "You want this? Great. Here it is for you." And we get to choose whether we answer that call or whether we don't. And God's love for you does not diminish based on your performance of what you do. And so I love working with entrepreneurs who feel like it's their call. I just think you have to choose to answer the call. And if you don't want to choose it, don't experience large amounts of guilt because of that. It's okay. You're still going to be loved. You're still valuable. You can serve and contribute in so many different ways in the world. I just choose to serve and contribute in my business. And I love serving and contributing here. So I just wanted to add that in. I feel like maybe someone needed to hear that.
I think that is so great. And I think that's important. And I think that it's okay for there to be seasons in the things that you do too. There can be times that you push the pause button, and that's okay. And there's no judgment in that. There can be times where you ramp things up. There can be seasons where you really do need to put everything on hold, whether for a life change or something else. And you don't have to push through that just because you've been called to do it. It doesn't mean you can't push a pause button, and life changes. And part of what we get to do as humans, as creators, as entrepreneurs is, my business is so incredibly different now than when it was last year or 10 years ago, even, or 5 years ago. And so we get the ability to make it and have it move and grow the way that it needs to go, and to trust that process too. And so where I want to go next with this panel is those who are listening to this panel and watching with us today, whether they are 100% in or they're still struggling with some of these beliefs and self-doubt about growing businesses and sacrificing relationships. What I'd love for you to share is, I'd love for you to share either something personal that has helped you with this, or as you have worked with other individuals, how can you help individuals get through this struggle? And what thoughts and insights do you have with those who are feeling like they really can't grow a business without sacrificing relationships, and that it has to be either or? How can you help them navigate that? Amy, I'm going to go to you first.
I am a little different in the sense, although I'm sure different is relative. Some people are going to listen to this and be like, "That's me exactly." I was the reluctant entrepreneur, where I wanted my business to be my playtime. And I wanted to do business because I wanted to, but I did not want to do business because I had to. And I went to bed one night as a stay-at-home mom, and I woke up the next morning with my husband telling me he needed to go to the hospital. Started us on a journey of him having serious health problems for 3 years, where he was not able to work outside the home. And I overnight became the breadwinner. And during that season, I had more babies. I had businesses grow and expand. And I felt like everything that I wanted was not what I got. And I really struggled with a season of resentment and frustration, because my husband was taking my kids to the park and my husband was reading stories, and I was the breadwinner, and I didn't want to be the breadwinner. I wanted to be the person who does business because I want to. And I remember when I was pregnant with Levi, who is my fourth, I had a great job, you guys, and I'd worked through a lot of that resentment and where that frustrated place. But I remember when he was born, he was, first of all, past due. Fourth baby. Who has a fourth baby 2 weeks late? I don't even know. So he was past due, and I had planned on having him, when he was due. So I had this time where nothing was scheduled, and I remember I'd sit on the floor with Lincoln and we'd play Legos, and I'd sweep my floor every morning. And I remember praying and telling Heavenly Father, like, if you'll just let me do this, I'll do a really good job. I'll sweep my floor, I'll play with the kids. Like, I'm good at this. This is what I love to do. This is what I feel like I'm great at. Can I just do this? And the answer for me was no. And I'm getting emotional just talking about it. The answer for me was no. And I was like,
Mm.
but why? Like, this is what I want. This is where I want to be. And the answer was because I have a mission for you. And if you don't have to do it, I know that it's going to stay smaller than I want it to be. And this is where you're going to develop. This is where you're going to become who you need to become. This is your zone. And that was that moment where we made the arrangement where I said, well, what am I supposed to do then? And he said, you take care of your family and I will take care of your business. And that shift for me was where the relationships started to really come together, because where I had felt like it was one or the other, if I either had to take care of my business and not take care of my family, or I had to take care of my family and my business didn't get the attention that it needed. That was the moment where the blessing came, and it came together that if I take care of my family, then God blesses my business. And I've had so many things come into my business that I'm like, I can't say that I worked to create that. Now I work consistently and I work hard, and I feel like I've got as good of a work ethic as anybody out there, but I get things that I know. I see them and I'm like, oh, that's totally the mom business plan right there. That's where that came from. I recognize that. I see it as what it is. So for me, it's just been having it in the right order is where it comes together for me.
Mm.
I
Powerful.
like that. And I think everyone has their own little stories like that that will help navigate them and keep them going. Monica, what would you add to this conversation?
Wow. For me, it is, I think we've all had those CT, I call them CT jabs, because it's not just coming to Jesus. Sometimes you got to come to Jesus, Allah, Buddha, and everybody. And my business started, as I mentioned earlier today, my business started out of tragedy. I was facing a cancer diagnosis. And so for me, this conversation is about transparency and authenticity and honesty. And then also just, sometimes we tend to think that authenticity and transparency is a show of weakness, that we synonymize vulnerability with weakness. But I've realized that when I am at my most transparent and vulnerable is when I am at my most powerful. And, when people used to tell me that before, I didn't believe them. I'm like, you're just trying to get into my business, right? But what I realize is that for me, the conversation is about uh, first being raw and honest with myself, and then making powerful requests with the people that I'm in a relationship with. And sometimes that request can just be, I don't know what to say to you, and I don't know how to fix this. I am willing to listen. And so, sometimes I'll mess things up. I've missed appointments, or I've missed an important event. And recently, my sister just had her second son, and I was there for the birth, and it was such a sacred moment to be able to share that and have my business running at the same time. And so for me, it just really it's just part of growing up, to say that this matters to me and you matter to me, and kind of go Oprah with it, and you matter and you matter. And so when you can just own all of that and know that you are the context in which all of this stuff gets to happen, then you can then make powerful requests and then make powerful promises. I told my sister, I don't care what is happening. I am there for the birth of my second nephew. And thank God that I was able to make good on that promise. And then to I think also it makes people respect you more in your relationships with, whether it's your spouse or your children or anybody that you're in a personal and a business relationship with, when you can just say, I messed up. I missed the ball on that one. And to be able to, and here's what I'm doing about it now, right? So it's not like a beat up, mea culpa with the thing, it's not just that. It's about, standing in your power even as you are cleaning stuff up. And yeah, so that's been key for me.
I like that. I love it. Stacy, what's your word of wisdom to the women listening and wanting to be rock star women and rock star moms and rock star wives and rock star business owners and CEOs at the same time?
Wow. To add to this conversation is hard. We've covered so much, but this is what is resting in my spirit. For me, it was being able to answer the question from God, can I trust you? And what does that mean? Can I
Mm.
trust you? Can God trust you with what He's given you to really put Him first? For me, it all starts, begins, continues built on my faith. And there was a point where I had a little bit of commingling of thoughts in developing business and my faith. So we know about goal setting and wanting to achieve and wanting to be in the league of extraordinary women. But the shift happened for me in relationship and with business and putting it all together when I stopped writing my own script and paused long enough to say, God, what would you have me do? So it wasn't that it was something bad per se, but sometimes we can think it's so right and it can be so off track for those who are women of faith. You know, my I speak to faithpreneurs. That's my audience. So it might not be a language you understand, but if you just follow my thought, you'll see where I'm going. So it was, I want to do this, I want to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And God, just come on and bless it. Like, come on now, you know, you gave me all these brains. I know this makes sense. Just bless what I've said. Just make it happen. And He was waiting for me to pause and to listen to the direction of what He had for my life. So it wasn't that some of the things that I had desired or thought about wouldn't be possible. He had to know that I could be trusted with being faithful and obedient to my walk with Him, and that all other things would be added. So that in my business, in my family, in my relationships, that everything that I do would give Him the praise and the glory. And that's not easy in a world where everybody believes different things. And it's not the most popular thing to do to promote or stand in your faith. I was actually discouraged to talk so much about my faith on platforms and the work that I do because you might turn people off. And I said, well, my goal is never to insult anyone or tell anyone what to believe or what not to believe, but I won't deny my Christ. And for me, growing in my faith, growing in my walk, understanding what being mastered by the word of God means in my life helped me to understand how I could serve in a bigger way, how I could do more because it wasn't me doing the driving, but I was being led to do the thing that I was originally called to do. So I don't know if that makes sense to everyone, but that's my truth of my growth and development in relationship is God first, allowing Him to steer the wheel instead of me trying to tell Him what to do because things happen so much easier that way. And then I stopped feeling this anxiety of trying to keep up with this one or do what that one said or this constant like it's almost like a toiling process instead of working and laboring of love. It was like, oh, why did I want to do this in the first place? Like building this business,
Mhm.
it's becoming more of a headache and a burden than a joy. And there was a point where I started feeling that disgruntlement. I'm like, well, what's going on? God help me. What am I doing wrong? Did I just miss the memo? Is my Wi-Fi not working going to heaven? Like what's happening? But then when I just paused and understood that He will give you the desires of your heart. He will make all sorts of abundance available for you to be in a league of extraordinary women. But what He's asking for is your complete undivided attention in your growth and development so that you can hear your assignment clearly because there are people that are waiting on you. There are people that are waiting on your product, your service, your company, your business, your legacy, what you're creating. And that is where I had to go through my transitional foundation in a new way. Because I grew up in the church. I grew up knowing God. But you know, you can go to church. Shoot, the devil can go to church and sit down in the front pew. You have to be able to figure out your own personal walk, right? This is something that it's a one-on-one relationship to understand where you stand, and then everything else you touch has an extra shine because it's not about your ego shining, but it's not you edging God out. It's what's happening through you that's bringing this brilliance to the world. And I look at this league of extraordinary women and Amy's brilliance, Michelle's brilliance, Naja's brilliance, Monica's brilliance, Cheryl's brilliance. All of us collectively are standing holding a space of saying, look, you can do this too. And for me, my message is always going to be seek first what God has given you. Don't complicate the process and let Him direct. And I trust me on this. If you do it that way, for those of faith, for those who believe as I believe, because it's free will. Can't tell you what to believe, but if you believe as I believe, your relationships become clearer. You start to move things and people out of the way that aren't serving you. And then you can really be in alignment with your divine assignment. And that's been, everyone's like, well, how do you stay happy? How do you? My secret sauce is my faith. And knowing that if I obey God, trust Him, do His will, all of this other wonderful opportunity and platform and global reach will be possible and available, but at the end of the day, sustainable because
Mhm.
I'm standing on solid ground. So
Mhm.
that's my answer, Michelle.
Love it. I love
I
that so
love it.
much.
Now, Michelle, you got to give yours. Like, this is all so much good stuff. I'm like, so juicy.
Oh, it's good. I mean, I think that some of our stories are similar and the same, and but I think what I would add to some of these conversations is what's interesting is I can look back and say without a doubt that I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing in growing my business and building my business. I know it has been blessed from a higher power, for lack of a better word, through many times of conversations. And I've also feel like I've been directed to figure out how I can do that without sacrificing other things, because that's my sweet spot, is helping myself and others grow their businesses without sacrificing that personal life. But what I will say, in addition to what you've all said, which I'll give a hearty amen to, one of the things that I've struggled with is just because you know that doesn't mean that from time to time or often I'm fighting against the exact opposite. Kind of like what Stacy said, is that every day I have to constantly turn back to the source and say, okay, I have to, because my brain can go off in other places. And interesting, my limiting belief surrounding building my business was not just that I couldn't be an awesome mom and an awesome entrepreneur at the same time, but that my kids wouldn't be safe if I pursued that they would be often somewhere else and that they would not have my attention. And if they didn't have my attention, that they were not safe. And so it took into a big fear, and I'll admit that those fears still come. And I wish I could say to those that were listening that those fears go away, because they don't necessarily. The fear that you are sacrificing too much doesn't necessarily go away. But the more I follow what I know and have confidence in what I'm doing, the easier it is. Whenever I stop and allow those feelings to come in, I'm taken over. Like, I launched my book in the month of March, and I had my kids all lined up, and I told them everything I was going to do. And I had 3 trips that I was gone a lot. They were all completely enrolled. The second I got home, the second my book launched, I got sick, and I was sick for about 4 weeks. And it put everything that I had planned for as part of my book launch on hold and on pause, that I was not planning. And so it's interesting over the last 4 weeks where I've had to deal with all of these thoughts and feelings over again, because I'm not moving forward, and also have to just recommit. And the purpose of that, and what I feel like is really important, and where we'll end before we toss it over, is you have to honor your own path. My biggest struggles with being a women entrepreneur comes whenever I'm comparing myself to someone else and their businesses. And I will frequently say, why is this working for me? I only have 2 kids, and Amy's got 5 kids. How does she do this? Or my friend Emily, who has 4 kids and 3 businesses, how is she doing that? But I'm struggling with my 2. And we have to honor our path, and everybody's chance and path in entrepreneurship will look different. And as much as we can learn from the success clues that other people give and from great things like this, as you are committed to doing it your way, that's when you have the greatest success. And Naja talked about that a little bit too, the imposter factor, when you're trying to latch on to what somebody else is doing, thinking that's what success is, when really a lot of what you're doing is blazing your own trail with support and help from people who've been there, but trusting that you're doing it your way is okay. And so that is how we'll leave this. We've gone so many places, ladies. I thank you so much for sharing your thoughts
Yes.
and advice. And I want to go back and watch these. For those of you who may have just joined us, or if you've missed part of this panel, it is amazing. I am grateful to be sitting, and I actually received an answer that I needed personally as a part of this conversation today. So thank you so much for how you showed up. For those of you who are listening and would like access to this forever, I hope you'll go to watchnow2017.com. You can buy the recordings for only $97. That includes both today and tomorrow. And at the same time, we will share and gift one of these to a woman who in the United States or in a developing country that could also benefit from these recordings, so that she too can grow her business and be a rock star mom and a rock star entrepreneur at the same time. We also hope you'll continue the conversation with us at watchnow2017.com. Jump in the chat, share your thoughts, advice, and feelings. We'd love to hear how you're rocking being a women entrepreneur. And with that, we will toss it over. Do you want me to introduce Cheryl, or is someone else introducing Cheryl?
Well, let's let Monica do it, because Monica's going to be doing the interview. But Cheryl, hey, we're so glad you're here.
Welcome.
She's working out her audio and volume stuff, so we're gonna get that handled in just.
And great
job,
while
Michelle. She's working it out. Yeah, so good. So good. Like, that was one of the best discussions I think I've been on in a long time. That was really good.
It was really great. I love you guys.
Love you more. Nothing you can do about it.
I'll take it all. Love fest.
Indeed.
Monica, why don't you give them the text opt-in and tell them a little bit about what they can get when they text in.
One of the ways that we have made available so that you can stay connected. Some of you are watching us on Facebook live broadcasts on any one of our pages, because we're simulcasting right now. And some of you are on watchnow2017.com. In order for you to keep not only getting updates from us about our broadcasts, but also get all of the goodies. Every one of the trainers, every one of the speakers, including those that are participating in panels, every one of us has something to gift you. And so in order to get those freebies, you want to be able to connect with us. And so you'll have an opportunity to come in on watchnow2017.com. Also, here's what you could do, because a lot of us just have this like it's our third arm. Our mobile phones are right next to us whenever we are. So what you could do is take your phone, go to your messaging option, your messages, and act like you're going to send a new text message. So you open it up, go like to the to field, and in the to field you're going to enter the number 313131, just like that. I don't know if you can see it, but there it is, 313131. And then what you're going to send as the message is the keyword, the hashtag that we have been using all throughout this virtual symposium, which is LOEW17. LOEW stands, of course, for League of Extraordinary Women. So you're going to go to 313131. You're going to send the hashtag LOEW17. Okay, LOEW17. And you will be entered not only into our list so that we can continue to send you updates and all of the freebies that we have gathered from all of the trainers and panelists, but you will also be able to get entered. Michelle, are we entering them on the raffle as well for the giveaway?
Yes, that has been fixed.
Perfect. So you'll be entered to win. And here's some of the things that we have for you. Cheryl, let me know when you have your audio so that I get ready to go. But here's some of the things that we have for you. We have Amy is giving us her ultimate marketing calendar. You heard that in the keynote that she did earlier.
Actually, that's not in the raffle. That's in
no,
when they
I'm not talking about raffle.
in.
I'm talking about giveaways.
Oh yeah.
So the giveaways are for Amy. She's doing the ultimate marketing calendar. Naja, when you send a note to her, you're going to be entered to have a complimentary seat at her From Dream to Done workshop. She's also gifting us her 7-day social media school. Michelle is gifting us, oh my gosh, It's just so much. It's just so many goodies. Michelle is gifting us 7 steps to creating a stronger marketing strategy, and I believe that you had another gift, right, Michelle?
That is the one that they get when they put in their email address, and then
Perfect.
so that's a good one. It's great.
Yeah. And Cheryl, who's coming up, I'm interviewing her just now. She's giving us 10 ways to share your voice with prospective clients. She is a knockout keynote speaker, so you're going to hear from her. And then Dr. Stacy's giving us a sneak peek to her action despite the distraction. That's her newest book. She's giving us the first chapter. And then as well, we have like I said, we have some raffle giveaways, raffle prizes as well. So you want to enter again 313131 and enter the keyword LOEW17. LOEW17. And that allows you then to not only have all the giveaways, but you'll also be entered into the raffle. And as always, go to watchnow2017.com so that you can participate in the chat, because that's where, again, because we're simulcasting, it's hard to keep track of the comments that people are making in each individual page. But if you go to watchnow2017.com, we are looking at that chat box right now, so that if you have questions, when you have an aha moment, when you want to share something, we're paying attention, and we are communicating and interacting with you there. So Sena,
Awesome.
I think I said it
That's
right.
it.
Sena Rubio says, tell me again how I participate in the raffle. I just did. Make sure you go to 313131, enter LOEW17, and we'll make sure to enter you into that raffle.
All right. I just want to say, hey, Cheryl, before I hang up, good seeing you, girl.
Can you
Can't
hear
wait to
me?
hear you.
I can
Now
hear
we
you
can.
now, yeah.
We can hear you now.
Can you see me?
We can
I'm
hear-
like,
we can see
why
you.
the hotels in New York so dark? It's not enough light.
Because we're sexy. We're sexy in New York. Gotta get the light right. Gotta get the light right.
Sexy in the city.
Well, I'm turning it over to you guys. Great seeing you, sis.
So delighted to be here. Cheryl and I go back a ways. Let me first make the official introduction, because you guys are going to be, let me just do that, and then I'll do my personal editorializing of it. Cheryl is an award-winning international speaker and author and coach. She's an entrepreneur. Cheryl impacts audiences around the world with her bold and audacious approach to living life. You're going to see that in a minute. Individuals and corporations have been impacted by her relevant, relational, and riveting message of unleashing your personal power to excel at your next level. She trains audiences to overcome self-limiting thoughts of doubt and fear by giving strategic steps to help them ultimately reach their goals. And one of the things that she does so well is to share her inspiring journey of moving from secretary to stadium speaker in 6 years. And Cheryl empowers her audience to embrace their next level personally, professionally, because if you know anything about your entrepreneurial journey, then you know that they are not mutually exclusive. There's no such thing as work-life balance. Work is part of life. We're going to get that in a minute. Men and women who have been positively impacted by Cheryl's content are more empowered to create the best version of themselves and become intentional in their performance and execution of their goals. And can I just say that I just love the execution of the goal part, because there's so much. It's so funny when people say, oh, Cheryl's a motivational speaker, and the thing that people don't understand about motivation is that the word move is in there. So you've got to take action, right? It's not just the emotional and the rah rah and the church amen and the hallelujah and all that hooping and hollering. That's awesome for the moment, right? It's awesome to change your state and to elevate your energy, and then you got to go home and do something about it. And the thing that I love and appreciate about you, Cheryl, is that you have a perfect way of blending that. Of yes, of course, I'm going to get the energy up. I'm going to kick off my shoes. I'm going to do the Patti LaBelle on stage. I've seen you do it. And then we get to work, right? That's what it's all about. Welcome, my friend. I'm so happy that you're here.
I'm so excited. I was stressing. I was like, oh my God, is New York traffic always like this? We got to go across the bridge. I was like, we're not going to make it. I'm like stressing my driver out, stressing myself out. And then here we go.
It works out just fine.
Divinely orchestrated. So
that's what happens when you're hanging out with a League of Extraordinary Women. The stuff that happens in the background, the backstage and the front stage, it's all handled.
Well, I think, you know what, I love that Amy posted something. I think it was early this morning, and she was saying, I love when I get to this space where I've done everything I can do, and the rest I just got to leave it up to, to God, and He has to take
Yes,
over from here. And that's just kind of what you do. You do the
exactly
best you can
right.
do, and then the rest just has to be divinely orchestrated.
That's exactly right. Isn't that funny that we think that, sometimes we have to be in control of everything and we have to manage everything. And I'm sure God's sitting up there like, I've been doing this for a long time, right? I got this.
It's really me, right? It's
You're
really
gonna
me,
come and go and I'm gonna still be here, right? You just
right?
get right.
I love that.
That's interesting. So for those of people that are on the chat that are here looking at the broadcast, I want to get your story in your own words. Tell us what the journey has been from your very beginnings to where we are today.
Yeah, so really, I take you back to kind of how I grew up. I grew up in the inner city of Baltimore, Maryland. I grew up in a project called Lafayette Projects, and even if you don't know what Lafayette is, you know what the projects is. So
Mhm.
basically, we were in an environment of poverty, and my mom had it was three of us, me, myself, my sister, and we have a younger brother. And so the things that we saw when we came out of our door every day were like the worst parts of life that you really don't want to see. People they didn't have a lot of access to education, higher education, and economic empowerment, all the things that like I'm really big on now. And then there was things like crime and violence and drug addiction and teenage pregnancy and just kind of all the yucky parts that you really want to protect yourself from seeing. And my mom did a great job of keeping us on the straight and narrow. Like she did not play. I think she was the strictest mom ever. But it protected me. And so I'm, of course, now at 43, I'm like, thank you, Mom. Thank you that we didn't come to those vices that we were surrounded by. So that speaks volumes to, the impact that a parent can have on a child, right? Now, on the opposite end of that, my dad, rest in peace, my dad was an alcoholic and he had his own issues and his own challenges that he dealt with in his life, but he wreaked havoc on our lives. So we were already in this environment that wasn't conducive for success. And then to add to that, we now became a statistic because we were from a single parent household. And when my dad was around, all we saw was just craziness. He would get drunk and he would bust out the windows in our car. He would get in my mom's car. He would get violent, and we would literally have to run out, like sneak out of the house in the middle of the night. Like I'm talking like a 2 a.m. where your mom's tapping you on the shoulder, whispering, telling you get your stuff, come on, we got to go, because your dad is act that crazy and you want to get away from it. So we would go to this place called the House of Ruth. And that was just how I grew up. And so they're really from that background and that whole idea of being a statistic of another kid who was a product of a single parent household, there didn't seem like there was a whole lot of success in my future. It seemed like, okay, you're going to be on the same path that a lot of these folks are. And so I went through high school. I did not go off for 4 years of self-discovery to college for higher education. That just wasn't something that my parents emphasized. It wasn't something that was talked about in my household. My mom believed that we would just read the Bible and everything would be okay. So, so it is what it is. All you can do is work with what you got. So I went straight from high school into the workforce. And thank God I had some pretty good business acumen. I went to Evoke Tech High School and learned business skills, and that carried me over into the corporate space. And I just kind of used some of that skill set with the things my mom taught me: honesty, diligence, hard work, show up on time, all of those things. And that allowed me to kind of move forward. So I ended up landing jobs as like, a secretary, then I'd be an executive assistant, then I'd be this and that, all in that realm, because I really couldn't go very far without a degree. So I was kind of like stuck at this cubicle. And for about 15 years, served in administrative roles, including a legal secretary for a little bit over 10 years. And in '09, I found myself as a mom of three who just wanted something more. Like I was so sick of dropping my kids off so early in the morning so I could get to a job I didn't like. Like, how are you going to drop your kids off at 6 a.m. to rush to a job you don't even like? Like that just is crazy. So every day in and out, in and out, in and out. I have these three beautiful kids that doctors told me I would never have because I had all these medical complications. And now I have them, like God had a different plan. And now I can't spend the time I want to with them. And I'm giving them the worst parts of me when I pick them up, because now I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I'm irritable, I'm angry that I'm not living the life I really want to live. So in '09, I just took a risk. I said, I got to do something different, interrupt my norm, and started a business. And it wasn't speaking, it was a t-shirt business. And people say, why'd you start a t-shirt business? I don't know.
It was the next best thing.
I had to do
You take the
something.
next step. That's
Yeah,
right.
I had to do something to interrupt the norm. And I didn't want to make my journey about chasing money because I figured eventually, if you just do that, you'll run out of the steam to keep going. Like, eventually, if it's not really something that you're connected to on a deeper level and you love, you're not going to last. So I knew I didn't want it. So I connected the t-shirt business to my love of motherhood. And all of my t-shirts had slogans that celebrated moms and celebrated women. And that worked. Like, 18 months into it, it didn't work overnight, but 18 months into it, I got a phone call from somebody at Morgan State University who heard about the t-shirt business and asked me if I would come and speak at their women's conference and do a session to teach other moms how to start their own business. And I said yes. And my yes turned into, hello, Cheryl Wood, the international speaker.
Wow.
And a lot of work, a lot of stuff in between that.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I think sometimes, when people hear the story of somebody's trajectory, it's very easy to say, well, this happened, and then ta-da! And,
Right.
we forget that there's so many ups and downs and peaks and valleys in that journey, and private
Yes.
conversations with husbands and breakdowns in the car by yourself. And, you and the steering wheel, man, you got a special relationship going on. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Yes.
I love how transparent you are with that because, a lot of times people go through their ups and downs. They're like, well, that's not how Cheryl did it. Yes, it is. That's how we all
Right.
do it. That's how we all do it.
Exactly.
We all go
We
through
just
those
don't
ups
we
and
just
downs.
don't post that part on Facebook, but we
Right.
go
Who wants to see the drama, right? But so
right.
I want to hear from you because here's what I love about your career, Cheryl. Like, and I don't know that I've ever told you this, so I'm just going to say it in public. Here's what I love about your career is that I'm very fond of people who walk the talk. And I ignore those who don't. So, in my world, the only people who exist are the ones that walk the talk, right? Because everybody else gets
Love it.
ignored. So I love that when you are coaching people who are emerging speakers, you are not teaching them from a book. You're not teaching them from something somebody told you. You're
Right.
not teaching them from, this is what I think might work. Let's see, I'm just theorizing. You're teaching them because you've walked that path. You have your own speaking business, thriving speaking business. You're always going everywhere. So I want to know from you, what do you think from an entrepreneur perspective, and then particularly for those who want to launch their speaking careers, what do you think are um, some of the biggest, I don't want to say mistakes, but perhaps missed opportunities that people don't take on for whatever reason? We've talked about mindset blocks and so forth, but what do you think is the biggest missed opportunity that entrepreneurs miss when they're starting out?
From the speaker industry, I think I, I think that they miss the opportunity to really be amazing as a speaker because they're trying to be a speaker on everything, every topic.
Mm. Mhm.
So, they don't want to identify a core topic and a core message because they're afraid they're going to leave somebody out. And I can only speak on it because I did it too. So I can
Mhm.
talk about the stuff I did good and the stuff I didn't do so well. But then you got to shift. So what I realized was the longer I was saying, oh yeah, I can serve these people and these people. And I just, you've ever heard somebody say, oh, I speak to women, all women. How do you possibly have the capacity to speak to all women? How do you have the expertise to speak to all women? What is the core pain that you're helping them to help to get a resolution to, or to get a solution to? So I think it's very important that new and emerging speakers be specific in identifying who they really want to serve, because it positions you to serve that audience at a much greater level versus trying to attract any and everybody. And most of the time they do that because they're not generating income. And this is the funny part. You're not generating income, so you're afraid to leave anybody out. But actually what you're doing is minimizing your ability to generate income because you haven't identified anybody. So instead,
Yeah.
just tell the people who you're talking to, I'm talking to you through all of your marketing, through everything that you put out on social media, through, any way that you're any touch point. Tell them that you're talking to them so that they can know and they can say, oh, she's talking to me. Now I need to hire her. But until
Mm.
you do that, when
That's
your
right.
topics are all over the place and your audiences are, oh, I can just serve everybody, that stagnates a lot of speakers from ever really making that mark that they really want to make.
So how did you go from the t-shirt business to speak? Like, how did your calling come? How did you know this is where I'm meant to be? This is what I want to do?
Well,
Because
I
that
think that's
evolved.
yeah, it's I kept showing up It's like if you keep showing up, eventually people are like, oh, she ain't going nowhere. We might as well put her on the stage. We might as well give her a chance. Number one, I kept showing up. I just kept showing up. I'm like, oh, you're gonna know me. And I would tell people that you're gonna know me. Sure would. You're gonna know the name. And I just kept putting in the work. So after that first speaking engagement it was September 18th, 2010 at Morgan
Look
State
at
University.
You know
That's
the
when I was,
date and everything.
I know the date. It was like the heavens opened up and was like, okay, this is what you were born to do. Like it was
Yeah.
amazing. And so like
Wow.
at the top of 11, I decided I'm going to do this full time. This is really what I want to do. So for an entire year, I just made an investment in me. And I say an investment in me because I didn't get paid. I just kept showing up and I would tell people, hey, I'm a speaker. Hey, I'm a speaker. Hey. And I used to go to people's homes and I would speak for their book club with 5 people in the room. And I would give the speech at the front of the room like there were 500 people in the room. And at the
Exactly
end,
right.
you hear, oh my God, that was
Right, the slow clap. Oh, not the slow clap. I love it.
There's like 3 people there. So it's not a
Yes.
lot of applause, but I was mastering my craft. I call it that was my year of experience and exposure. So while I was getting experience and what it felt like to speak in front of different audiences and how do you tell your story and how do you make a deeper impact? How do you develop a heart to heart connection, not just a head to head connection? I was learning all that stuff, but I also was gaining exposure where people would start this buzz about who is this Cheryl Wood person? I heard about it. You heard about it too. And somebody got to be talking about you. Because if you're just amazing, but you're at home behind your laptop, that's what you're going to be. Amazing behind your laptop. You're going to be a best kept secret. And I didn't want to be the best kept secret. I wanted to be someone who was really out making a mark and people were talking about it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I love that you integrate, part of it, we mentioned it before when we were talking about, you do your best and then you allow for that divine magic to show up. But the first part of that sentence is you do your best. You know what I mean? That means showing up. That means making the phone calls, send the emails, follow up, go to the events, right? And so what would you say is your there's always like when we're walking on our path, there's always a turn. Like you make a turn down this street and then all of a sudden things just change in an amazing and unimaginable way. What would you say were some of those turns for you? Like what was the first one that you were like, holy crap, this is the beginning of my empire? How did you know what I mean? Like maybe you didn't know it at the time, right? Because we never know it when we're going through it. We kind of know it just in perspective. But what was that first turning point for you?
I think it was when I got hired to speak at my local library and they wrote me a check. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Oh my God. Like somebody's give me a check for this. And I
hurry up and deposit this before they change their mind.
let me deposit this before they really discover who I really am. I'm really, I'm still trying to figure this out myself. So I think the check was for like $1,500. And I was like blown away that somebody would pay me $1,500 to come and do like a 45-minute speech. And that was connected really to the fact that I didn't value my worth at the time. I didn't value who I was to believe confidently that I was worth that $1,500 and then some. But I'll never forget that experience. And I remember, the library system, they not only did they hire me, but they did a feature article on me and put my face on the cover of there's like this news and events magazine that comes out. And it was in every library in Prince George's County, in my county.
Wow.
And I was like, look at little old me. I'm just, I was so excited. And so they're promoting the event and promoting the event. And when I walked into the library, there were probably 200 seats and there maybe 5 of them were empty, but there were literally 195 or so people in that audience waiting to hear my message. There was no other speaker. I was the speaker.
Wow.
And it was just like I could have wept in that moment that I had a message and I had showed up and all of that time. And this was probably a year and a half into me speaking that happened. And finally, it was like somebody's recognizing that I do have something of value to say. And they believe it so much, they're willing to write me a check and host me so that I can share this message with other people. And it was amazing. And that was the first time, as Danielle Jervey says, that I had my groupie line. So I had a groupie line after I did the speaking engagement. I remember I had this book and I was selling the book, and the line was like wrapped around the room. And it was like, wow, I have the ability to impact people's lives in this way. That was a game changer for me.
Yeah. And what I love about it is that, oh, I'm hearing an echo. Let me just make sure. Here we go. Okay. What I love about what you just said is that it wasn't like earth shattering,
Right.
um, you know what I mean? Like the Inc. 500 where I've never been to an Inc. 500 conference, but I know that it's thousands and thousands of people, right?
Right.
And one of the things that startups, when you're first starting out, that beginning of the empire is just like when you hold your baby in front of you. It took 9 months to
Right.
get to that point.
Right.
You didn't just wake up one day you were pregnant and the next day, here you go, here's your
Right.
newborn, right? It takes a minute, right? And I love that you're not you command way more than $1,500, but the fact that you started there and that you kept showing up, because sometimes folks, when they don't see results and they get frustrated and give up. That's the first kind of like culling and shifting through the wheat and the chaff, as it were. But then sometimes you get it and you're like, oh well, this is as high as I can go, and it's like, no, 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 this is the beginning. This is
Right.
the start, right?
Yep.
This is
That's
we're
it.
just getting wrapped up. How does Al Pacino says, I'm just getting wrapped up, right? And so the opportunity is to say, okay, now how do I leverage this? Now how do I grow this? Where do I go from here? So when you were sitting there going woo 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 woo, like you like to say, then how did you leverage that? How did that then turn into even more speaking engagements and even more opportunities?
It gave me the confidence to speak up and ask for what I wanted as a speaker fee. That was number one. Because again, remember,
Mhm.
I did it for an entire year. I just done it for free just because I was investing in me and I wanted people to know me and have a buzz. So to have someone to value the message that much, to write me a check, and no, by no terms is a whole bunch of money, like you said, earth shattering. But at that time, nobody had ever paid me 1,500 to be on a stage for 40 minutes, right?
Right.
So it seemed earth shattering, but it boosted my belief and my confidence that if
Mhm.
they value it and they see the value in it to pay me a check, then there must be other companies, people, groups, associations who also will value it enough where they will write me a check. So it gave me the confidence to demand it. Because you know how like once you get it, you're like, oh yes, yeah, my fee is 1,500. You ain't never made
Right.
that before. That was the first time you got it, but all of a sudden now your fee done jumped to 1,500. So
This is your fee.
right, I went from like
Right.
0 to 1,500 immediately. Like every call after that was like, they were like, so what's your speaker fee? Oh, it's 1,500. Yes.
Uh-huh,
Because Prince
uh-huh.
George's County Library paid me that.
Correct. Correct.
So I just took it and I allowed it to boost my belief and my confidence that in turn caused me to start asking for it, or as I like to say, demanding it. You don't demand things all the time in an aggressive way, but you demand it by speaking up and honoring the value that you bring into the marketplace and having an expectation for yourself that I am worth it. And that's what it did for me.
Mhm. I love it. I love it. So then what would you say, and I know that we're like transitioning into your keynote, which is going to start in just a few minutes, but what would you say for somebody who is starting out and or perhaps maybe they've been at it for a while and it's stalled, then what would you say for them? How do you get the gears grinding again? How do you get moving again and creating that momentum?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you got to get out there and show up. That's huge.
Mhm.
And I feel like we're in a society where we've become so comfortable just sitting behind a laptop. Like everybody's at
Yeah.
home. Nobody wants to come out and network. Nobody wants to go. Like you get the best of me when we're at a networking event and you're getting my energy and you're like, dang, what is she on? And how do I get some of it? Like you get a good piece of me from my laptop from events like this. But if you think this is something, it's like feel my energy in person. So I think we've just
Yes.
abandoned that a little bit. And sometimes you have to be real with yourself, have a real talk with yourself. Like, how often am I getting out and showing up? How often am I networking? How often am I getting outside of my own zip code? Like, do the things that will allow you to expand your base and expand the eyeballs that are on your message so that you have the opportunity to share the message on greater platforms. And then, are you doing the work? So a part of the work is making the ask. So are you going online and are you searching for speaking opportunities and submitting speaker proposals? Are you telling people that this is what you do and this is what your core topic is? And then when you get those opportunities, are you knocking it out of the park, or are you just passively accepting it as, oh yeah, it's a speaking engagement. Oh, and it didn't pay me, so you just show up haphazardly? Like, no, whether you write me a check or not, I'm going to get some money out the room. So that means I have to be amazing. You are, they say you're only as good as your last performance. And I believe that. So even at this level, I never take it for granted that there are a lot of rooms I walk into and they're like, oh my God, I can't wait to hear you speak. I'm so excited. I don't take it for granted that they heard that. It's now my obligation to demonstrate that. So I never want anybody to leave feeling like, oh, well, they told me she was great, but she was okay, because I'm not on my game. So I got to make sure I bring my A game every time. So for those who are trying to get into the speaking world, for those who have lost the momentum and kind of plateaued, like, get back out there, find a thing that gives you your juice again. All of us go through these, sometimes moments of downward spiral, like, oh, I'm not feeling it, or what I really wanted to manifest isn't manifesting yet. It's up to you to get out and find it. And it's up to you to get out and make it happen again. Find the energy, find the excitement, find the enthusiasm, as I like to say, that you had when you first got your EIN number, right?
Yeah.
Like when I first got my EIN number, I was pumped.
Oh my gosh, yes, I remember that too. Yes.
And I was like, and then I got my DUNS number. I was like, I could do business with
Forget
the
about
government.
it. Can't tell her nothing.
But tell me nothing. But sometimes we let that energy and that excitement and enthusiasm dwindle. And it's like we lose the fire that we had. You can't lose your fire, because when you lose your fire, that's when you become comfortable and complacent. And then you find yourself in a space of doing more complaining than you are working for what you say that you want.
Very correct. And this is a little bit of like behind the scenes information. The Mastermind Slay itself began because of a conversation me and Amy had in a live event. You and I were both keynoting at Amy's event, and we were like, hey man, wouldn't it be great to just have a place where like we could just share best practices and just other high performing leaders that are, what are you up to? How can I support you? And so that all started from a conversation. Had any one of us dialed it in, it wouldn't have happened. And that's the opportunity. What I love about you, Cheryl, and your work, and I call it ministry, right? Because it feels work and efforty certain times, but it's really a ministry and a contribution. Is that it's the price of admission is just showing up, like you said, and then it's taking risks, making those requests, asking those questions, and saying, hey, you know what? If it doesn't work, we're going to be at the same place where we are now. Nothing's happening.
Exactly.
But at least if you take the risk, something magical will be created that wasn't here before we opened our mouths, so that's amazing.
So
Now, I want to remind everybody, if you're not, or if you're watching from like a Facebook broadcast, I want you to know that we are simulcasting in all of our individual Facebook pages and profiles and so forth. So you want to go to watchnow2017.com. That's where the chat box is. That's where the opportunity to put in your information so that you can get into the raffle is as well. And if you will also take your mobile phone and send us a text message. The number is 313131, and enter the keyword, the hashtag that we're using, LOEW17. That stands for League of Extraordinary Women. And this is the year 2017. So enter LOEW17 and make sure that you enter your information. Just send that over and we'll get you, hooked up with the freebies, the giveaways that we've been talking about. Cheryl, it has been such a delight to connect with you again, my friend. I love that you've made time for us and made it happen. You're in the middle of another speaking engagement, getting ready for the next thing, and And here you are contributing, and that just speaks to your character and your spirit as a giver. I love your generosity.
Thank you. I wouldn't miss it for the world. I was like, oh, they're not gonna leave me out. Like I was like watching from the train and like, I want
Uh-huh.
to be watching the panel, like catching a glimpse here and there. And then look, I mistakenly sat in the quiet car and I didn't have my headphones. So I'm like sneaking and pulling it up and looking at you guys. I was like, they're not leaving me out. I'm getting on. I'm getting on.
I love it. I love it. So, what do you need from me to set you up for your next thing? Because I know that your keynote is coming up now.
I don't know. I'm ready.
You ready? Okay. Do you need to like share screen or anything like that, or is just you
Nope, I'm
sharing with
just
the
talking.
people?
I don't have anything fancy like I saw Amy's fancy PowerPoints earlier. I was like, look at her. Them were the such overachievers.
Did you give a side eye? You're like, oh, okay, come on,
It's
set the
I
tone. Why don't you?
it's just me, just basic, I'm just gonna talk to the people and give them
You
something
and
good,
your
a good
heart
moment.
and your genius. This is what you do. That's your genius. It's talking from your heart. I love it. So thank you so much for allowing me to, pick your brain and to get into the story behind the story. And I'm gonna take my video off, but I'm gonna stay here because I can't wait to hear what you've got to share. Everybody, make sure that you go to watchnow2017.com if you're not already there. Make sure that you send us that text message 313131. The keyword is LOEW17 to make sure that you get signed up for all the freebies and to enter to win some of our giveaways. You'll see what those giveaways are. I can't go into them because there's a lot of them, but you'll see what those giveaways are if you go to watchnow2017.com. And again, Cheryl, thank you so much and take it away.
Thank you. Now, when I'm done, do I turn it back over to you?
I'll be coming
Uh,
up.
okay, beautiful. And okay, before I get started, I'm texting mine to LOEW.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because we like to test
17.
our system too. Yes. Go to the numbers.
313131.
Yep. And it's
Got it. LOEW
hello.
17.
You got
All
it.
right. Bam. Got it. All right, beautiful. Because I want the freebies too. All right. So, good evening, everyone. I'm so excited that I am here and have the opportunity to be a part of this powerful masterclass. I'm assuming that people can see me. Let's see. I'm guessing so. Okay, so I'm just going to roll with it. As you can probably see, I am in a hotel room. It's not as bright as I would normally like it, but I'm dealing with it. I'm actually in New York City right now, and I am here to speak as the keynote speaker for a conference tomorrow here in Brooklyn, New York. So I literally just walked in the door when I got on that interview with the amazing Monica. I literally had walked in the door of the hotel room. So I thank you for being with me and spending your time with me. Anytime you invest being here with anyone, we're in a space where you're going to learn with experts. You want to make sure that it is worth your investment. And so my goal, my intention is to make sure that this time you spend with me is worth your investment. No, it was not a financial investment, but it's an investment of your time. Hey, Andrea, I love my clients because my clients, they inbox me. Oh, I can see you. Yeah, I can see you. So they get me and they make sure that I'm on point. So thank you. And I gotta give that. Look, this is probably not a part of the this whole broadcast, but I've got to give a huge shout out to Trenae Thompson. Trenae Thompson. The beauty of walking in your gift is that I believe that you will be divinely connected to other people who see greatness in you and who want to help you to birth your vision to a greater level. And so when I came into New York City today, this amazing woman who met me 3 years ago when I spoke at a conference here in New York, she met me there. And then she recently came to a retreat that I hosted in Maryland a couple weeks ago. And when I came here, she inboxed me and said, is someone picking you up? Do you have ground transportation? I would love to come and take care of you. And I was blown away. Like, wow, okay, sure, let's do it. So she meets me at the train station. As soon as I come up off the escalator, she's right there because every time I come to New York Penn, I'm confused and dazed and have no idea what I'm doing and where I'm going. And I look like I'm a tourist. But she's right there waiting for me, gives me this amazing hug, and takes me to this great restaurant here in New York City, Uncle Jack's. We have some amazing food, great conversation. She arranges for a car service to come and get me and drop me off at the hotel. Those are the divine connections that happen, I believe, when you're really walking in your gift. You will be put on a path to connect with people who benefit from the gift, who value the gift, and who want to help you expand the gift. So I think the first thing that I want to share with every one of you is I want you to admit and acknowledge for yourself that everything that you've experienced in life, everything you've been through, your past, every hurt, every disappointment, whatever you grew up in, the background that you came from, every struggle that you've been through in your life, through your adult years or your college years, or whether it's marriage, divorce, kids, whatever it is, loss, whatever you've experienced, every struggle, every setback, every success, every triumph, everything that you have experienced to this point in your life has been specifically for a greater purpose other than just you. So I want you to say that to yourself. Everything I've been through to this point in my life has been for a greater purpose other than just me. Because there's something that happens when you open up your mouth and you start to speak about your experiences. Not only do you start to become a beacon of inspiration for other people to see what you've done, what you've been through, what you've struggled through, what you've accomplished, but then you free yourself of all of the things that you thought you weren't capable of. And some of you have such a powerful story. Some of you have these heart-wrenching stories of things you've been through, things that you've experienced, and you're still in a space of harboring the hurt of what you've been through, and you're still suffering because you're staying silent. Let me repeat that. Somebody needs to hear that again. Some of you are still hurting, and some of you are still harboring that hurt, and you're still suffering inside because you're staying silent instead of telling your story. See, when you tell your story, it frees you. It starts to free you, and it serves as a healing process so that you move beyond it because you understand, as I say so often to my clients, that your story is about you, but it ain't for you. Please write that somewhere. My story is about me, but it ain't for me. So you go through it. You learn the lessons. Sometimes they're tough lessons. Sometimes you wish you weren't the person who had to go through it, but you had to go through it. And now you take the story, you take the lessons, you take the hurt, the disappointment, the discouragement, everything you triumphed over, the accomplishments, the successes, and you share it so that someone else can believe that they can make it through what they're currently going through. And that's all I've done in my journey. It's not something that where it's rocket science, because there are a lot of people who say, well, how do I move from where I am into being a speaker? It's not rocket science. And I'm going to share some strategies and some things that you can do, but it is more out of an obligation and a responsibility in knowing that I owe it to myself to share my story with as many people as possible. I owe it to myself to impact the world on as global of a level as possible with my unique fingerprint. I want you to hold your pointer finger out, and I just want you to twist it. I don't know if you can see this, but literally just do this. Just imagine that you're getting fingerprinted. So I have 3 kids, and if I want to go and chaperone, I have to get fingerprinted to make sure that they have my background and my information. And there are other reasons why you would have to get fingerprinted. If you're going to get your TSA number so you can fly, go through in the fast line, right? Whatever it is, if you've ever been fingerprinted or seen someone fingerprinted, you know that they take each finger and they dip it in a little ink and they what? They imprint it so that they can look and know that that's your fingerprint. When you do this, think about this. This is what you do every time you open your mouth and you share your story. Every time you take that story and you break it into teachable components that will help someone else to get through what they're currently struggling through or to get on the other side of it, you are doing this, leaving your fingerprint on the world. When I was getting off the Amtrak train, when I was coming here to New York today, there was this older couple there, and I smiled because they actually were still flirting. They looked like they could have been like 90, but I just thought it was the cutest thing ever that they were still like very flirtatious with each other. I think they look like husband and wife, right? And as I'm looking at them, I'm thinking to myself, wow, that will be me one day. I'll be the woman with the gray hair. I'll be the woman who maybe has a little cane. I won't be walking as fast as I am right now. My movement won't be as fast. I don't know, but that's going to be me one day. And I thought to myself in that moment, wow, what do you want to know that you've accomplished when you get to 90 years old? What do you want to be able to look back and say, wow, I impacted those lives? Like, what legacy do you want to create that will long outlive your physical strength and your physical body? And I'm telling you, I got even more fired up than I normally am, which, if you know me, I'm always fired up. But I got even more fired up because it was like it created a sense of urgency in me that I got to work. I got to go to work. I got to speak up and tell people what my message is. I got to tell people what I believe. I got to help breathe oxygen back into the possibilities and dreams of other people who have given up because of what they've been through. And in that very moment, it was a sense of urgency came over me. And I couldn't wait to get here and get on this session. I couldn't wait to be here to share with you. Do you have that sense of urgency about the fact that you're not getting any younger? Time is not reversing back for any of us. So as you move through life, are you getting a greater sense of urgency about the fact that your story must be told? Your message must be heard. You must create that unique fingerprint where people say, my life was transformed because you opened your mouth and you released everything that you had gone through instead of selfishly taking it to the grave with you. That's what some of us do. We have all of this expertise. We have all of this life experience, things we've gone through that could benefit somebody else, help them to cut their learning curve, help them not to have to go through the drama we went through, and we selfishly keep it to ourselves. So just ask yourself, what am I doing with my story? What am I doing with my experience? What am I doing with my expertise? Am I sharing it or am I harboring it? And if I'm harboring it, why? And so I want to give you some takeaways because there are some steps that you can take if you're a person who's saying, well, Cheryl, I know I have a story and I want to share that story, but how do I get started? How do I get out in the marketplace? For those of you who don't know my story, just 8 years ago in 2009, I was not Cheryl Wood, international speaker, anything. I was a legal secretary. I went to a corporate job every day. I went to a cubicle. Can you believe that? I went to a cubicle every day. Everything about my demeanor says I should be running my mouth and getting paid for it. I'm very clear about that now. But then I was used to doing something. I found a spot that I was good at and I stayed stuck in that spot because I allowed myself to get comfortable and I was afraid of taking risks. I was afraid of, whoa, this is going to resonate with some folks. I was afraid of walking away from what I already knew in order to go and be ushered into what was waiting for me. Some of you are so afraid to walk away from what you already know how to do and what you've been doing for most of your life in order to go out and emerge into something new and usher yourself into a new space of opportunity, into a new space of relationships, into a new space of impact in the world, into a new space of self-transformation and then transformation that will have a trickle-down effect on other individuals who hear your story and see your journey. So I already know that I might not be able to talk to every person that I really want to impact, but maybe they'll hear my journey. Maybe they'll hear my story through a live stream event like this, a broadcast or a video they go back and watch. Or maybe one of you will hear the story and you'll go back and you'll tell them, oh my goodness, I heard about this lady Cheryl Wood and she used to be a legal secretary and now she's an international speaker who's doing this full time and running a multiple six-figure business. But what I know is it's my responsibility to keep showing up over and over and over again and sharing the story and sharing the possibility and the hope that comes with the story so that as many people as possible can hear it. And perhaps it will just create an aha moment or a breakthrough or a light bulb moment for someone else to say, if she can do it, so can I. And if she can see the possibility in her life, even when it wasn't visibly in front of her in the moment. Like when I was going to my job every day as a legal secretary, when I was punching a time clock and didn't want to go, and maybe my kids woke up sick that morning, I really wanted to be home, but I couldn't because I was afraid I was going to lose my job. I had to be in the seat. And so every day when I woke up and I knew I wanted something different, but my reality didn't match what I was fueling myself, what I was fueling my mind with. So here I was telling myself all this great stuff about the fact that I was amazing and dynamic and powerful and the world was waiting for me, but I still had to go to my job every day. So my reality didn't match the affirmations that I was repeating. However, it would never have matched those affirmations had I not started the affirmations, had I not started talking to myself differently and shifting my mindset and shifting my belief systems. So everything that you do, for those of you who are new and emerging speakers, and maybe those of you who have hit a plateau, just remember you've got to start somewhere. And you can't keep putting it off, and you can't keep procrastinating because you're waiting for some magical moment to happen. The magical moment is not coming. You're going to have to be the creator of the magical moment. And every time I show up for an event like this, for the conference I'm speaking at tomorrow, I'll be in India in a week. Every time I show up, I'm creating the magical moment that will lead to something greater and that will take me to the next rung on my ladder. So ask yourself, what am I showing up for? How often am I showing up? How am I showing up to create the magical moments instead of waiting for the magical moments? And so the first thing that you need to do, for those of you who really say that you want to delve into the space of sharing your story and growing a speaking business that impacts lives and allows you to develop wealth, is you got to identify a topic that you are willing to stand on for the next 24 to 36 months. What is that topic, that thing that you believe in so much that you are willing to stand firmly in and on that topic for the next 24 to 36 months? And I didn't say 9 months. I didn't say 6 months. I didn't just say 12 months. I said 24 to 36 months because you have to be in it with both feet firmly planted on the ground. And that takes time. Being in it doesn't mean, oh, I'm going to do it for 3 months or 6 months or 9 or 12 months and see what happens. Oh, and if it doesn't produce what I want it to manifest and what I want it to produce, I'm walking away from it. Then it wasn't meant for me. No, some of you are quitting before your blessings show up. So why not give yourself the time to master what your topic is, the time to master who you're meant to be in the world and what your voice really is, by saying, I'm going to give myself the next 24 to 36 months to really dig my heels into this topic. And that means it has to be a topic that you didn't just randomly select, or you heard somebody else speak on it. So you feel like, oh yeah, that's my topic because it's easy for me, or I can speak on that. It needs to be connected to you somehow. Why do you believe in it so much? What makes you connect to that specific area of expertise or message or topic? So when I first started speaking, for the first 2 years, I kid you not, everything was one topic. And that topic was fearless, focused, and fulfilled. How to be fearless, focused, and fulfilled. Everything I talked about was that. I want an elevator pitch. In 2011 at the Power Networking Conference, I got on stage and I pitched my business in front of all these hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs and a panel of judges. And guess what my topic was? Fearless, focused, and fulfilled. Earlier, when Monica was interviewing me, I was telling her about the opportunity I had to speak at the library when I first started. And when I went there, guess what my topic was? Fearless, focused, and fulfilled. Because I was in a space where I was being fearless enough to pursue something outside of my norm. I was interrupting what I knew how to do in order to pursue something that I felt was greater on the other side of that. So that meant I was fearless. And then I was focused. I was focused on where I was going. I was focused on the fact that I was going to do something different. I was focused on the fact that I was not going to be stuck at that desk at a cubicle for my entire life, just sitting there waiting to retire. When I knew everything in my spirit was yelling out that there was something greater for me. So I was focused on getting to something different. And then ultimately, I wanted to have this space of fulfillment, that I would discover the thing that would nurture my spirit, that would fill my soul, that would make me feel like there wasn't a void there, that would position me to create generational wealth for my kids and their kids and their kids, and that would help me to build a legacy. A legacy is something that you pass down. What are you passing down? And I knew way back in 2011, when I really decided I wanted to go for speaking, I knew that I wanted to create a legacy where my name will open doors of opportunity for my 3 kids. That's my goal. My personal goal is when I'm long gone, my kids will be able to go and say, oh, I'm Cheryl Wood's daughter. Oh, that makes me so emotional. Sorry. I'm Cheryl Wood's daughter, or I'm Cheryl Wood's son. And that a door of opportunity that they never anticipated will be open for them because of the work that their mom put in, because of the relationships that I'm developing, because of the impact that I'm making by showing up over and over again, even when it's hard, even when it's scary, even when some people don't support me. Like, I just keep showing up because I understand that that legacy is so much bigger than anything else. So you've got to decide what's your big why? Why are you doing it? And then connect it to a topic that will really pull out of you who you are at your core. It's not enough just to pick a topic that you're good at speaking on. You need to pick a topic and a message it stems from who you are because of something that you've gone through. So ask yourself some of these questions. What do I enjoy talking about most? What do I find myself talking about constantly? What do I have experience and expertise in? And experience meaning firsthand experience. Like Monica was saying, this isn't something I read in a book. Nobody told me this stuff. This is stuff I experienced through my real life firsthand experience. It's not in theory. So what do you have experience in firsthand, but also what do you have expertise in? And that could be through acquired knowledge. Like the more I go on my journey and I invest in myself and I have coaches that help to guide and direct me and they teach me things I don't know. And I go and I invest in courses and training and things. That's acquired knowledge. So what is it that you have experience and expertise in? And then what did you learn? What is something that you learned through a certain experience that you went through in life that was truly transformational for you? And that means you might have to sit down and you might have to literally go back through your life, go back through your elementary school days, go back through your high school years, go back through your college years, go back through once you got out of college and you started working in the corporate world, go through your time period of if you got married or you got divorced or you had children or maybe you're an empty nester or you went back to college or whatever it is. Go through your life, break it down into these different segments and pull out the most transformational things that happened to you and experiences that you went through that literally shifted the direction of your life and shifted who you are as a person. And then ask yourself, what did I learn in the process of that experience? What did I learn and what did I learn not to do? What did I learn that I need to do better? What were some of the choices and the options that were available to me when I was in that experience? What obstacles did I face when I was in the experience? How did I overcome those obstacles? What characteristics was I able to strengthen about myself through the process of that experience? Did fear ever play a role? Did self-limiting beliefs play a role? And the deeper you can dig in that story, the more poignant it's going to be for the people who are hearing it. And what you want to do then is once you've kind of identified what that core story is that you want to share over and over and over and over again, and that becomes your signature story, and you connect that to a core topic of expertise or a core message that you're going to share in the marketplace, then you want to break down the lessons learned. So you go through some of those questions that I just asked, and then you come up with a core topic based on that story and that experience. And you break that core topic down into at least 7 subtopics, 5 to 7. I'd say 7, but no less than 5 that you can teach other people. Because remember, speaking is not just, first of all, speaking and talking are 2 different things, just so you know that. Anybody can get on stage and talk. But speaking is about reaching the hearts of people. So much so that even after they hear your 30-minute presentation or your 45-minute presentation, there's something that resonates so deeply within them that they will never be the same. And not just the same in how they think, but the same in terms of how they act, the movement that they create, what they do after they hear you speak, what changed, what shifted in them. There has to be some shift that happens, or otherwise you haven't truly mastered the art of taking your own life experience and your story and putting it into a package where it's no longer about you, it's for someone else. So every time you share your story and your message, it becomes a gift that you're giving to someone else. And you have to be willing to break that down into teachable lessons. So you can't just get on a stage and just tell your story. You can't just tell all the stuff you went through, the heartache, the pain, the successes. That you can't just tell that. There has to be a takeaway for the audience. So maybe you've heard this expression WIIFM. WIIFM. That just stands for what's in it for me. And that's what people want to know when they're hearing you. They do want to hear your story because that humanizes you and it makes them see themselves in you. Because sometimes when people see a speaker on a stage, they kind of put the speaker on a pedestal and they see that person as bigger than everybody else, right? Which is really not true. That's just a person who has put in the work and now they're elevated at a different level, or they're a few steps ahead of you, but it doesn't make them really any different than you. And it's up to you as the speaker to be able to create an effect in the environment and in that space where they see themselves in you. And then they believe that whatever you've gone through and you've come out on the other end, that it's also possible for them. So that means you have to be very intentional about breaking down what you learn into lessons. So let me give you an example. So let's say that I had a core topic, and my core topic is boldly pursuing your possibilities. Maybe that's what I've learned through my story. And maybe I'm going to connect the story about going from the legal secretary to boldly pursuing my possibilities to become this international speaker, which now I've manifested, right? So that could be my topic: how to boldly pursue your possibilities in life, or how to boldly pursue your dreams in life, whatever it could be, right? This is just a sample. So now the question is, that's my overarching theme. I know my signature story about going from poverty to graduating high school and going into the corporate world, to being a legal secretary for 15 years, to now transitioning to an international speaker. I understand that there had to be a process. So the audience is going to enjoy the story. They're going to connect with the story, but then they want to know, now, how do I get there? That's your job as a speaker. So I would break that topic down into at least 7 steps of what I can teach them. So let's say, okay, boldly pursuing your possibilities. Well, what do I have to do? Number 1, you have to face your fears and you have to move in the direction of the fear. I could break that down. I could do a whole hour presentation just on fear and how people allow fear to hold them hostage. And the fact that fear is never going away. It's going to keep popping up every time you decide to take a risk and do something that's outside of your norm and outside of your comfort zone. So I could do a 45-minute, an hour, a 2-hour session. I could do a whole day workshop boot camp on just fear, because it's real. Like, it's real in people's minds, and they allow it to keep them stuck where they are. And it might be fear of success. It might be fear of failure. It might be fear of judgment. It might be fear of rejection. It might be a fear of other people's opinions. It might be a fear that you're not good enough or worthy. It might be a fear that you're never going to move forward because of the background that you come from. There's so many different fears that people face, but it keeps them stuck. So one of my talking points might be how to face your fears and move through them, because you can't overcome them. I don't believe you can overcome them. All you can do is press through them. And then number 2, here's another subtopic or bullet point or takeaway: how to upgrade your internal dialogue to create a different reality. So when I was going to my job every day as a legal secretary, there was a point where I had to just literally change everything I was telling myself about what was possible for me. And that's why I said, remember, I said my affirmations and what I was telling myself, that dialogue was completely opposite of what I was currently in, what I was experiencing. So even though I would wake up and I would say, Cheryl, you're a magnet for success. You are a magnet for greatness. You are a magnet for wealth and abundance and prosperity. You are going to shift the trajectory of your life. You will create a legacy. You will create generational wealth for your children. You will live your dream, right? And then I'll have to get up and get dressed and go to my job. But the reality is, it was a process of me upgrading my internal dialogue, because when I first started saying those affirmations and talking to myself differently, I didn't believe it. So I would say it, and because my reality didn't match it, I didn't believe it, but I kept doing it anyway. Guys, I could do a whole presentation just on internal dialogue and how it impacts everything that you do. So I'd say it took me probably 4 months to 5 months before that mindset shift started happening, before that internal dialogue, what I was telling myself, before it actually started to sink into to my subconscious mind. And one day, I'll never forget, I said that same little mantra. I'm a magnet for success and wealth. The world is waiting for me. I'm going to create abundance and prosperity. Just my whole little mantra. And this time, I remember I didn't laugh. So something had been happening all along in my subconscious mind. And it was that I was developing a different belief that, oh, maybe I actually can. And so instead of laughing this time, it was like, well, why can't I? So it was like I was having this conversation back. Why can't I be successful? Why can't I create wealth? I'm a smart girl. Like I go and I put in 40 hours a week for somebody else and I help make them millionaires. So why can't I do it for myself? So all of that fueling my mind and shifting my internal dialogue was working, but it took time. So that could be a whole takeaway that I could teach somebody on. So you're taking your story, your experience, what you went through, and you're creating it as a blueprint to teach other people how did they get to that same end result. Then I could create another one. Number 3, I could do shifting your beliefs to match your dreams. I could do number 4, taking big risks. I could do 5, laser focusing on your strengths versus on your limitations. I could do number 6, I could do connecting with a tribe of supporters. Number 7, I could do getting, I could say avoiding overwhelm and narrowing in on a specific audience. So that right there are the 7 key takeaways, lessons that I can teach someone else so that they get closer to what they really want to achieve. And that's what you have to do as a speaker. If you really want to show up in the world, you find that story and then you connect that story with what your audience, the audience that you want to serve and help, what they're currently struggling with, and then you create a blueprint. All right, here's number 2. All of that was just under number 1. I know y'all like, whew, right? Take a deep breath, take a deep breath. I'll take one too. Right? Good stuff. So here's number 2. Number 2 is if you're really going to grow a speaking business that impacts lives and creates wealth, you've got to build a solid foundation. The beautiful thing about this, I have a whole Rock Your Stage program and I do boot camps and I do a speaker intensive and one-on-one speaker training. And the beauty about that is that I love that I get to help new and emerging speakers to build their speaking business from a solid foundation. Because sometimes people, they do stuff and they do it haphazardly and they do it based on what they're guessing and they don't have the real strategies and they don't have the real knowledge. So they're just kind of building and building and building and they don't do it well and they got to come back and backtrack and try to redo it. And so every person who works with me, every client who comes to my space, I have a joy about the fact that I'm helping them to build a solid foundation from the ground floor up. So if you build a solid foundation for a house, you don't have to come back and rebuild the foundation. All you have to do is if you want to make extensions, you make extensions. Hey, we're going to break this wall down and we're going to extend it out and we're going to get rid of this and this sunroom and then we're going to turn it into this. So whatever you do, it's critical as a new and emerging speaker that you build a solid foundation. What does a solid foundation look like? The solid foundation are some of the basics that you will always need in your speaking business, whether you are being hired or booked, whether you are the person who's seeking out the speaking engagements, whether you're hosting your own event, whatever it is, there are core things that you need. You ready? Number 1, you got to have a professional headshot. And some of this stuff seems so basic, but some of you still don't have it. And I'm going to say not just a professional headshot, but how about a current professional headshot? Like not you 15 years ago when you were thin, right? Like, come on, give me something to work with. Like, give me a current professional headshot that you've taken within the past 12 months. Number 2, you need to have a speaker one sheet. These are the things that people are going to ask every time they book you. In fact, when I finished this broadcast, I think I shared this on a post, but I got booked to speak as the keynote speaker for the National Association of Legal Professionals. I'm so pumped. And they asked me for the same thing that every organization who hires me asks for, which is, can you please send us over your professional headshot, your high resolution professional headshot? And can you please send us over your speaker one sheet and some of these other things I'm going to talk to you about, your bio and an overview of your presentation. Core, fundamental things. But do you have them ready? Or would you be scrounging to get them ready if someone called you today and wanted to book you for a speaking engagement? So your professional headshot, your speaker one sheet, and then your long bio and your short bio. So your long bio would be the bio that they want to reference, this organization or group or association that they want to reference because they want to know your full story. So it's the more in-depth description of you, who you are, what you've been through, what your background is, where you come from, why you're doing what you do now, why you have a passion to speak on what you speak on. That's specifically for those decision makers who want to do their in-depth research on you before they book you. And I promise you, they are doing an in-depth research on you before they book you. And then you want the short bio. So that's the long bio or your full bio. Then you want to make sure that you have a short bio. And that short bio should be somewhere between 100 to 150 words. And that is specifically for speaker proposals, as well as the bio that's generally going to go into the event program that's going to tell people who you are when you're speaking at a conference. And so they can't put a 5,000 word bio in their booklet. They can't put a 2,000 word bio in the booklet. So they usually ask for 100 to 150 words. That's anytime you're submitting a speaker proposal online. That's anytime that people are asking you for your bio to put into their event program. So have that ready and make it compelling. You want to make sure that you focus on the things that give you the most credibility, if you will. So even if I have clients who say, well, Cheryl, I don't know what to put in my short bio because it's not like I've spoken for any major corporations or companies, or I haven't gotten any big awards. But what have you done? Did you get a bachelor's degree in something specific? Did you get a master's? Do you hold a master's? Or were you recognized as the worker of the year or this or that? Whatever you can do to enhance the credibility of who you are when that's being perhaps read from the stage, that's what you want. You want that representation to be the best representation of who you are. So include those critical components that say you're a superstar. Okay? Then you want to have your signature speech. And your signature speech will be the speech that you're going to give consistently for the next 12, 24, 36 months. That's the thing that people are going to come to know you for. So what is it that you want people to call you and say, hey, could you come and do that speech on how to pursue possibilities? Or can you come and do that speech on women in leadership? Can you come and do that speech on? So in order for people to say, can you come and do that speech on, there has to be a speech that you're giving consistently and that you have prepared so well that when you do get invited to speak on it, that you knock it out of the park, but not just once, but every time you get booked. And then that creates a trickle down effect where people start to refer you out specifically for that. And then once you've mastered that signature speech, you can branch out into other speech presentations, but you got to knock one out of the park first, consistently. So what is your signature speech? What is the story that you're going to tell, the signature story that you've pulled out? What are the takeaways for the audience? What are the connecting stories that you connect to those takeaways? What are the thought-provoking questions that you ask throughout the presentation that make them think? Like, there is strategy and mastery to really being an amazing speaker. And unfortunately, there's nothing in the marketplace that dictates you have to have a certain certification or degree or anything specific to the speaker industry. So I'm finding that there are a lot of people calling themselves speakers. They're adding that comma speaker behind your name, but they're really not equipped and prepared for what a speaker really should be doing. And that is making lasting impact that causes people to change and take action long after the speech is over. So imagine if you go to a conference. So for instance, this conference I'm going to be at tomorrow, I think it's from like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. or something. That's a long day to hear speaker after speaker after speaker after speaker. So if someone hears your speech, your presentation, and even after they've heard 10 other presentations and they've gone to lunch and they've had dialogue and they've networked with people, and when they go home, they're still thinking about what they heard you say. And they are ready to take action based on what they heard you say. You have made impact. That's impact. I took my son to the eye doctors just this past week. And I went into the eye doctor with my son, and I'm going to admit, y'all, I was in all of my hot mommy glory, like hot mess glory. And what I mean by that is no lipstick, no makeup, hair wasn't done. I didn't even have a wig on, y'all. I'm just being honest. I'm being honest. Like I was about business that day, like mommy business, because I had a lot of stuff to do. I was going to be flying to St. Louis for a speaking engagement the next day. So I was trying to get it done. So I don't have any makeup on, no, not even lipstick. I have a baseball cap on, bummy clothes, just trying to get my kid to the doctor so he can get his eyes checked. And so we go into, the doctor comes out, it's a young lady, and she takes us in the back and she does the eye exam. And, she gives us the diagnosis, and she's very professional. And she's like, this is this and this is that, and he's going to need glasses. So then we're coming out of the room. And as soon as we get out of the exam room, and she kind of directs my son to look around for the glasses that he wants, she like bursts out of nowhere. And she's like, oh my God, Miss Wood. She's like, oh my God, I follow all of your stuff on social media. And I heard you speak about 2 years ago and blah, 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 blah. And I love your stuff and you're so inspirational. I had no idea that this woman even knew who I was or anything. She didn't give me any inclination, I'm sure because she was remaining professional while she was doing her job. But she said to me, she said, it was because of you and what I heard you say at that conference when you spoke. She said, that caused me to launch my own pediatric eye care center. And she gave me a card and she told me where it's at. And she has this location. And she said, in fact, she said, I only work here 2 days a week simply because I'm still supplementing that business. She said, but now I see you, I'm thinking, I don't even want to be here. I want to be doing my business full time. And she was excited. That woman heard me speak almost a year and a half ago. And it impacted her so much that she went home and she took action. Action on a plan that she had not executed, action on a plan that probably had been brewing in her spirit for a while, but there was something that she heard. There was some connection where she felt like it resonated with her, what she heard in my speech or about my story, and it made her go and take her own risk. That is speaking. That's how you want to impact people's lives, where they are making change long after they heard your speech, your 30 minutes or your 45 minutes on stage. So the solid foundation that you're building as a speaker is making sure that you have that core signature speech. And then here's another important thing, making sure that you have an overview. And I'd say that overview should be anywhere from 50 to 100 words of what the speech is about. So if I have that title, having the audacity to pursue your dreams or to pursue your possibilities, I want to have a brief overview, 50 to 100 words. And I want to have 3 to 5 core takeaways of what the audience will learn or take away as a result of hearing that, because that's what's going to be asked every time you submit a speaker proposal. It's going to ask you for an overview of what the presentation is about, the topic, and 3 to 5 takeaways that the audience is going to get. So have that ready. Don't wait. You don't have time to get ready. You got to be ready. You got to stay ready. And then 2 more things under this category of building a solid foundation. You got your professional headshot. You have your speaker one sheet. You have your long bio. You have your short bio. You have your signature speech with the overview and the takeaways. You also want to make sure that you have a CRM, which is your client relationship management tool. So a CRM could be Constant Contact. It could be MailChimp, Aweber. It could be Infusionsoft, any database, if you will, where you house the people who want to hear from you. And the importance of that is you never know who's reading the information that you're sending out, right? So sometimes if you have, let's say, a pop-up on your website and people can sign up and they put in their name, they put in their email to be added to your CRM, and then you're constantly educating and informing them and sending them these amazing newsletters and about what you're doing and about how you can impact their life and just giving them great content. You don't know who's reading that and who's watching that. I have been booked for gigs because someone has read my newsletters for an entire year through my CRM. For an entire year. And then they say, oh, you know what? This person is consistent. She's steady. She's trustworthy. She's credible. She's been doing great things. She's been growing. She's been investing in herself. You know what? We're going to book her to come in and speak at our event. So you just never know. So there are all these different touch points of how people can hear about you, hear about your message. And you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of every touch point and that every touch point is elevated at the level you want your brand to be elevated at. So make sure you have your CRM. And look, I'm going to say this. For those of you who are like just starting, don't be afraid to start your CRM because you say, well, I don't have nobody to put on my list. Well, you will never have anybody to put on your list if you don't start it. So when I first started my CRM, guess who was on my list? My mama and my sister. Because my mama had an email and my sister had an email. So they was getting some serious empowerment. Those 2 people, my mama and my sister, they were getting some serious empowerment for those first few months when I didn't have anybody on my list. And then, of course, I learned specific strategies about how to lead generate and get more people into my database. And of course, that's a whole nother topic, but you got to start somewhere. So put your mama, get their permission, of course. Get your mama, your sister, your auntie, your uncles, whoever, and just tell them, hey, I'm starting this new business, speaking business, and I got to have somebody to share my message with. Would you be willing to be on my newsletter list? And start there and get in the routine and the habit of at least dispensing powerful and informative content that adds value to people. And then last but not least, under building a solid foundation, I highly encourage as well that you have a YouTube channel and that you have an active social media presence. So your YouTube channel, because videos have just taken over the world. I mean, that's what my kids know. My kids don't know anything about anything other than video. And they are on YouTube more than anything I've ever seen. I'm like, how did you learn this? Or how did you hear this? Or the other day, my son, my 9-year-old came down the steps and he was singing to the top of his lungs. And he said, reasons, the reasons that we're here. And I stopped everything I was doing. And I turned around and you can imagine how crunched up my face was. And I was like, Jalen, he's 9, y'all. That's the baby. I said, Jalen, what are you singing? He said, huh? I said, what are you singing? What song are you singing? I said, sing it again. And he said, reasons, the reasons. And I said, how do you know that song? That's like from the 70s. You don't even know Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like, I barely know them. So you definitely don't know them. And it was something that he had watched on like YouTube. And that was a song that was playing in the background. So he didn't even know what he was singing, the fact that it was Earth, Wind, and Fire and this classic song. But he was singing the song out loud like it just was so emotional for him. And it was from something he had watched on YouTube. And that song was playing like in the background of whatever he was watching. So YouTube and videos, like we're in a digital age and you've got to stay current with it and you need to be putting things out. And for those of you who say, well, how do I get booked? Outside of submitting speaker proposals, putting up YouTube videos is one of the best ways that you can get booked. Do you know how many people have gone viral and had their gift discovered because they put up a YouTube channel or a YouTube video? So why do you feel like you don't have to do it? So commit to something, hey, once a week, for 52 weeks for the full year, once a week, I'm going to put up a video that's going to allow me to share my message or something specific as it relates to my message. And then you can literally create something once a week for 52 weeks. And you have 52 videos on a YouTube channel that speak to your credibility. When I first started speaking, this was I was already going out and I was just booking myself, like going to book club events and going to the Chamber of Commerce and going to associations. And I would do career day, like everything I did. And I recorded it and I would always put it on YouTube. So even if you're not getting the gigs yet, those YouTube channels can potentially get you the gigs. Okay. And then last but not least, the active social media presence. You want to make sure that you are active on social media. Like if I ask you, what's your LinkedIn login? Or I ask you, oh, do you have Twitter? You're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, what's your Twitter handle? I don't even know. Like, I can't tell you how many times I hear people say that. I'm like, you don't know. Okay, so that means you're not active on it. Okay, so it's no sense in me following you because you ain't putting nothing up. You ain't giving me no content. You're not giving me no information. So why am I follow you? Okay, what about your Instagram? Oh, I can't remember the last time I logged in. Okay, then I'm not following you there either. Because that means that there's nothing valuable for me there. So I want you to make sure that you're having an active social media presence. All right, here's number three. Those of you who are saying, I want to grow a speaking business and I want it to make impact and I want it to monetize. You have to identify once you start speaking. So you've identified your topic, you've identified your kind of that signature story and how you're going to break it down as takeaways for the audience. You have started to create your solid foundation. And now, number 3, you want to identify why you're going to say yes to any speaking engagement that you opt to say yes to. Okay. Identify why you're saying yes to every speaking engagement. So if someone reaches out to you, or if you opt to put in a speaker proposal for an engagement or whatever, however you come across the speaking engagement, just understand why you're saying yes. And really, there are 4 types of speaking engagements. So you want to know, why did I say yes to this one? What is it that I want to get out of this particular speaking engagement? So here are the 4 types of speaking engagements: paid, speak to sell, pay to play, and lead generation. I'll repeat those again. 4 types of speaking engagements. Number 1, paid speaking engagements. Number 2, speak to sell. Number 3, pay to play. And number 4, lead generation. So let me go through those really quickly and we'll move on to number 4. So paid means, okay, they want to book you. You tell them what your speaker fee is and they say, okay, great. We'll pay you that and we want to book you. Here's the date. You send over the contract, you get a deposit, bam, you're all set. So they are paying you for the service that you're going to deliver. And they will give you instructions on how long they want you to speak. And there are certain topics, certain questions, not topics, but certain questions that you should be asking when you are asked to come and speak. And that's something that I trained through my Rock Your Stage Speaker Intensive and my boot camp, which I'll tell you a little bit about later. But that's very important that you ask the right questions, because if you don't ask the right questions and you assume that you know what they want you to deliver, you can really make a big boo-boo in the speaking business. And that boo-boo will follow you. Like that can destroy your reputation and your credibility. So there are core questions that you should ask anytime anyone is considering booking you. And that will allow you to show up and to give the best presentation possible so that you wow not the audience, because it's not so much about wowing the audience or getting a standing ovation, which is what some people think. It is about wowing the person who hired you, because they are the one who's in control of that budget, and they are the ones who most likely can rehire you and or send you to other decision makers who can hire you. So your job is not to go and wow the audience or get a standing ovation. That means nothing. I mean, it strokes your ego, but it means nothing. The question that you need to be asking is did I meet the expectation of the person who hired me or booked me for this gig? And you want to have that specific post-event conversation so that you make sure that what you said you were going to deliver, you delivered, and what they were expecting, you delivered. And if it's anything outside of that, you want to know, because maybe you need to shift what you're doing, or maybe you need to shift the questions that you're asking pre-event. Okay, that's a whole piece that I teach in my boot camp, and that's a whole piece that I teach in my speaker intensive, my Rock Your Stage Speaker Intensive. So paid is when they write you the check. Number 2, speak to sell. So this may be an opportunity where someone says, hey, I would love for you to come and speak, but we can't write you a check. We don't have a budget for a speaker. However, we're going to put you in front of 200 entrepreneurs and you can sell from the stage. So you can, whatever your program is or your package is, you can sell that from the stage. Now, that means you have to be comfortable selling. That means you have to have a product or a package to sell so that you can take advantage of that. And I'll tell you that the speaking industry has drastically shifted. And outside of the corporate sector still pays pretty well. But outside of that, for these conferences and events and retreats and masterminds, oftentimes they are speak to sell opportunities. And so you don't want to just be turning down every opportunity just because it's not a paid speaking opportunity, because that doesn't mean that you can't make money. So let's say that the person says, well, we can't pay you. We don't have a speaker budget, but you can come and you can pitch your product or your sale, your package to our 200 entrepreneurs. Are you kidding me? Do you think I'm not going? Oh, I'm going. Because imagine if, let's just give an example. Let me pull out my calculator here. So imagine that there's 200 people who are in that room. Now, here's the important part. You got to make sure they're your audience. Because you don't want to be, if I'm in front of 200 nurses who love their job, that's really not even my audience, because they're not going to buy nothing I have. I am seeking people who want to escape from their job, escape from their cubicle, and do their own thing. So it wouldn't even be a smart yes for me to spend my time or my energy going there if I know that that audience is not my core audience, or someone who is likely going to benefit greatly from what I'm going to offer. But if it's 200, let's say, speakers, there's 200 speakers in the room. And let's just say that I'm going to offer a package that's going to be $4.99. Okay. And let's say out of 200 people, let's say I close, let's take a small number. Let's just say 20 people. So I close 20 people. That's 10% of the room. So if 20 people sign up for my $499 package, that's $9,980 that I just made from speaking to sell. Does that make sense? Y'all need me to run through that again? I can't see you, I can't hear you, but I'm gonna run through it one more time. So don't just turn down an opportunity because the company can't write you a check. You can still make great money from the back of the room. If I'm in front of 200 new and emerging speakers and I know that's my expertise, like that is my audience, like yes, my job as a speaker is to get in front of more people who can say yes to the products and services that I sell. So if I get in front of that 200 people and 10%, okay, so 10% of 200 is 20. So if 10%, 20 people of that audience say yes to buying my package that is $499. $499 times 20 is $9,980. That ain't a bad day to walk away from the back of the room with $10,000 in your pocket. Okay, well, $20 shy of $10,000 in your pocket. So don't ever, be offended. Don't be so quick. I'll say that. Don't be so quick to be offended when somebody asks you to speak and maybe it's not paid. It's a speak to sell opportunity. Number 3, pay to play. So there are opportunities where someone hosts an event, a conference, whatever, mastermind, or maybe it's even a tabletop opportunity, and they say, well, look, I can put you in front of these people who are your core audience, but you got to come, you got to pay to play in this space. So they might say, okay, it's going to cost you $2,500 for you to do a tabletop presentation. Or, you can pay $5,000 to be on my stage, but I'm putting you in front of 500 new and emerging speakers. Now I have to think to myself, is that worth me and that investment to me? So if someone says, hey, I'm sure I'm going to put you in front of, let's just say 500. I'm going to put you in front of my audience. We bring out entrepreneurs who have a median income of $150,000 to $300,000, and their typical spending is anywhere, at a conference is anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. So if you want to pay to play, you can pay $5,000 to be on my main stage and give a 1-hour presentation. So now I have to look at the numbers and say, is that going to be worth my while? So let's say it's $5,000. And they say, well, this audience typically will spend anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. So maybe I go with the low end and I say there's 500 people in the audience. And again, I'm going to go with the low end of the conversion rate, which is 10%. So even if I only convert 10% of 500 people in that audience, that's 50 people who will potentially say yes to my package. So if I offer that package for $997, which is rated $1,000, guys, do the math. But 50 people, just 50 out of 500 times $997 is $49,850. Was that worth the investment of $5,000 to pay to play? Hello, right? $49,850. And all I paid was a $5,000 investment. So you just have to know. And that might be for some of you who are playing at a different level. So everybody's not ready to play at that level, because you have to make sure that your ability to sell and your ability to convert people from an opportunity into a sale, actual sale, is strong before you would make that type of investment. But these are just things to think about as you move forward in your speaking business. And then last but not least is lead generation. And so I don't want you to diminish the power of lead generation. So you go to a conference and there are 200 people in the room who are your core audience, then yeah, I want to come in and I want to be able to get their contact information, because even if I can't sell something that day in that moment, if I have their contact information in my database, that means I can educate, inform, and market to them well after just that conference. So just understand and identify why you're saying yes to every speaking engagement as you're moving forward. Number 4, as you're growing your business, diversify your portfolio. Diversify your portfolio. And what I mean by that is don't put all your eggs in one basket. So some people see speakers and they assume that speakers are making the bulk of their money from being paid to come and be on a stage. And that's not true. You do have some speakers who are making the bulk of their money that way. And a lot of them are doing things in the corporate sector, or they have a really big name and great media exposure. But then you were talking about the everyday typical speaker who says, I have a message, I have a story. You're not going to have that same media exposure. You're not going to have that same visibility. And so you have to think about, how am I going to bring in the bulk of my income? And so maybe people aren't booking you at $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 to come and speak on a stage. So how else are you going to generate money in your business? Well, you diversify. So you shouldn't just be speaking on stages. You should be doing coaching. And coaching goes back to what we talked about in number 1, which was identifying the topic that you can speak on and break it down into teachable points. That's all coaching is. Coaching is you are helping someone else to strategize on specific plays that will get them to a specific result, which usually is directly connected to a result that you've experienced. So coaching is a stream of revenue. Masterminds, that's a stream of revenue. Retreats, boot camps, live events such as conferences, workshops, seminars. You could do virtual group training programs. You can do membership sites. You can write a book and sell your books. You can do book projects where you perhaps are going to spearhead an anthology and you're going to have other people make an investment so that they can become authors, and perhaps they don't want to write the whole book themselves, but they can handle writing a chapter, so they want to be a part of a book anthology. You can diversify your portfolio and bring in income through affiliates. So there are a lot of other ways that you can diversify outside of just speaking. And then I'm going to kind of run through this last one because I want to be respectful of your time, and it is 6 o'clock. Number 5, last but not least, even when you do begin speaking, look for the value in every opportunity. Now, I'll say this: you are never free as a speaker. You are never free as a speaker. Okay. You choose to waive your fee for certain opportunities, but just understand that just because you waived your fee and you're not getting your full fee does not mean there's not value in that opportunity. So here are the questions you can ask yourself. Does this opportunity position me to lead generate? Does it increase my visibility and credibility in the marketplace? Does it put me in front of decision makers who can hire me later? Can I use this opportunity as an opportunity to be in front of an audience and create my speaker reel? Can I use this as an opportunity to generate paying customers from this event? Can I use this as an opportunity to connect with other credible speakers who I want perhaps to connect with because I want to bring them in to speak at my conference or my event? Will this be an opportunity where I can connect with collaborators in this room? Can I potentially connect with vendors who are in the space so that they can come and vend at my conference or my live event? And the same with sponsors. Can I connect with sponsors who are here who might want to sponsor my event? So you don't want to only look at the cash, the money that you're generating. That's important. That's very important. I don't want to diminish the importance of monetizing, but there are going to be, especially in your early stages, you might not always get the money that you're looking for, but there are still ways to find value in every opportunity. And you have to make sure that you're being intentional about seeking out that value. So that's my spiel, y'all. I hope that has added great value to you. I'm going to turn it over to Monica, who I think is inboxing me now, letting me know when I want to jump in. I am done. I'm turning it back over to you.
You always give such amazing nuggets. I love how practical your tips were. I love how step by step this formula for success as a speaker is. And that's what happens, you guys. Let me just put my headset on so that I can avoid any kind of background noise. But that's what happens when you're being mentored by somebody who's been there, done that, who has the experience, the know-how, and the teaching skill. Because a lot of people have traveled the world, but they can't tell you how they did it. And so I love that not only do you, like I said to you, like I mentioned during the interview, not only do you have the walking the talk down, but I love the way that you're able to transfer that knowledge, the experience and the information to people. So I appreciate you, Cheryl, for jumping on and being so generous with your knowledge and your expertise.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Now I see Dr. Stacy's here as well. Dr. Stacy and I are gonna wrap up the evening. Now I want you to stay tuned because I have some everybody who is on the line. I just really want to just summarize the day for you. If you're just jumping on, I'm going to tell you what you've missed. I'm going to tell you what your next steps are because we have homework for you. And then I'm going to tell you what to expect tomorrow because we have so much more. Today was a big day and tomorrow is an even bigger day. And not just because I'm keynoting, okay? Now.
well, Dr. Monica, before you go on, is Cheryl still on?
Yes.
Sure, Cheryl, you're here. Okay.
Girl, I just heard the fire truck coming over that side of town since you just lit this whole League of Extraordinary Women on fire. So I just want everybody to know it's all right. There's not been a crisis in New York. Cheryl Wood just turned this on fire.
I love it.
I just love watching you operate in your gift, Cheryl. I told you from day one, I continue to just be so peacock proud of how you are just walking in your assignment. Just continue shining, sis. Love you to pieces. And I'm just so excited for this audience, this League of Extraordinary Women. everyone you've been listening to, the panels. I hope that you've been sharing it out. I hope that you've told everyone about Watch Now 2017. I hope that you tweeted, text, posted all of those takeaways. Cheryl, you gave them everything and the kitchen sink. Girl, you ain't holding nothing back. So there's no excuse. I'm like, Cheryl, you go tell everything. You go get all our secrets out in
Everything,
the
honey,
street.
everything. No shame. She's just
Dr.
shameless
Stacey
with it. She's
NC
like,
Grant,
here, bam.
Dr. Stacey NC Grant, I miss you. You've been traveling the world and doing your thing, and I just be like, so
Girl.
come work it.
I miss you too, but girl, I'm like, how you in New York? And I'm still all over the place. I got to figure out if we can connect because tomorrow is crazy. But I wanted to surprise you if I could. But girl, just love you and just appreciate. This is what I'm talking about, Dr. Monica, Cheryl, Amy, Michelle, Naja. We don't have to pretend. We don't have to make, all this extra stuff. We just have to be who we are. And as you watch everyone in their natural gift, I hope you're inspired to just go out and do your own thing and take the action. Like Cheryl said, like, come on now. It's not just going to happen. It's not going to drop out of the sky. She didn't just wake up like this, like Beyonce. She put some work in. Right, Cheryl? You had to do some work. And we all had to put some work in to get here. If you do the work, it will work. So I'm sorry, I get caught up when my Cheryl is around. Sorry, let me reserve
And we're
myself.
still doing the work. And look, the crazy part is, we're still doing the work. It hasn't stopped.
Exactly.
We're still doing the work. It don't slow down. And I think sometimes people feel like, oh, I'm going to get to that place, and then it's just going to be beautiful and magic, and I don't have to work anymore.
Right.
No, you still got to work for it. Still got to show up for it. So
That's
definitely.
exactly right. That's exactly right.
Well,
So
that
thank
was
you
an
again,
awesome
Cheryl.
way. Yes, yeah. I just want to say
Wasn't
awesome
it
way to
awesome?
close out the day with the keynote with Cheryl. I'm just on fire today. I feel like a fly. All right, I'll stick to my day job. Sorry, y'all. All right, go ahead, Monica. Go ahead.
I'm muting myself out.
Bye, Cheryl.
Bye. Love you guys.
You can tell who the energy balls in the team are, right? Bye, Cheryl. Love you, honey. Thank you for your generosity once again.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Listen, you have got to take your morning shower and drink your veggies when you're around these two. Okay? Listen. Now, if you were here with us from the very beginning, then you know that we have had a very, very full day. I'm going to give you a rundown of the day. And let me just tell you that if you've missed any of it and you want to have it all for your success library, then you're going to want to go to watchnow2017.com so that you can get the recordings. That's the page where not only are we broadcasting and we are looking at the chat box so that we can engage with you, but also where you can get the recordings. They are at a special event pricing of $97. And that's going to be good today and tomorrow. And then after tomorrow, the price will go up and it'll be $197. Now, what is important to know about that is that when you invest in yourself by adding this virtual symposium to your success library, you are also investing in another woman in a developing world. Now, many of you know that women are increasingly becoming the breadwinners, the sole breadwinners, and an economic engine for their families. The good news about that is that when a woman is economically empowered, she doesn't just thrive. It's not just her children that thrive, the whole community thrives. So it behooves all of us to empower as many women as possible, especially in developing nations, because the fastest way to get to sustainability in a developing nation is to educate and financially empower a woman. I'm just going to say it straight out. That's just the key. Okay. Now, again, go to watchnow2017.com. Make sure that you sign up for the recordings. And we also have, we want to keep you updated with all of the moving parts that we have today and tomorrow. So make sure that you grab your cell phone, go text this. You're going to text to the number 313131. You're going to text our hashtag for the day, which is for the symposium, which is LOEW17. That's League of Extraordinary Women 2017, right? So the keyword is LOEW17. You're going to text that to 313131. Make sure so that we not only enter you into to receive all of the freebies that all of the trainers and speakers and panelists are giving you, but also so that you can have an entry in our raffle giveaway. All right, so we started the day with Amy Walker, the inimitable Amy Walker, who gave us her keynote, CEO Ownership, how your business is calling for a CEO. Now, my company name is CEO Mastery, so this is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. Then we followed that up with a networking panel where we got together to chat about not only the importance, the value, and the power of networking, but how to do it strategically, how to do it in a way that works for your personality. Not everybody's an extrovert, not everybody's an introvert, not everybody lives in the city, not everybody lives in rural areas. So, all of those variables, you can actually make them work for you. That's one of the things that we discussed in the networking panel. And then Michelle McCullough interviewed Naja Hayward, who was also one of the speakers today, and Stacy, my lovely, lovely Dr. Stacy, interviewed me. Then Shay Brown got on the stage as well with his keynote on how to build a 7-figure sales team. Now, one of the things that I loved about his keynote is that you can actually use technology to build your sales team. You don't have to always hire people, put them in payroll, especially with a sales team. These folks know how to make it rain, make it happen. If you hire the right people, even if it's commission only or an affiliate program, then you are only paying for results. And we are all about results in this team. Then next we had Naja Hayward with Stop Playing Small and Finally Build the Business of Your Dreams. A lot of times the only thing standing between the business of your dreams and your bank account is you. And so I loved her keynote on how to make that happen, how to get out of your own way and start creating and designing the business of your dreams. Then we followed that up with the relationship panel. And one of the things that is so important to us as women entrepreneurs is that we want to make sure that we are balancing our priorities as business leaders and not leaving all of these other things that are important behind, our families, our friendship, our connections. And some of the business folks that we do business with and partner with eventually end up being our friends and vice versa. And so we want to make sure that we honor our relationships and we also honor ourselves. That's one of the key things that we talked about in the relationship panel. And I have to tell you that it got so real and so raw and so honest. And I love that we don't have to create permission or preface going deep. We just do it. And that's the power of having done your work, inside and out. And then I interviewed Cheryl as an introduction to her keynote, which just wrapped up, how to grow a speaking business that transforms lives and produces wealth. And I'm telling you, if you didn't take notes during Cheryl's keynote, during Amy's keynote, Naja's keynote, Shay's keynote, you are missing out because they really gave you a blueprint for how to take your business to the next level. And we're not even finished yet. We're only halfway through. We are in the middle of ending the first day and beginning the second. And if you want to get, again, like I said before, if you want to get those recordings so that you can have them in your success library and listen to them at any time, I know we talk quickly. I know we covered a lot. So you might want to have this in your success library so that you can go back to it. What did she say about that again? What was that idea that I had that I forgot to write down? You can go back. You can listen to it again and again. And one of the ways to do that is to go to watchnow2017.com. The first thing that you're going to see is our lovely banner so that you know that you're in the right place. Then you're going to see the video broadcast. And then you're going to see a button that says Get your all access pass for your special in-conference price of $97. Right underneath that, you press that button and you are going to be on your way to getting these set of recordings in your success library. Like I said before, you're investing in yourself. We'll also we'll scholarship one of those all access passes to a woman in a developing nation. And part of the proceeds of this symposium is also going for Women International, which is a nonprofit organization that works with women worldwide. So I want to make sure that I want to tell you what is coming up tomorrow as well. And tomorrow we have Stacy opening us up. Thank you, Stacy.
Drink your OJ, eat your cereal.
Make sure you get your breakfast because he's going to feed you. Her topic is going to be action, despite the distraction. 7 life lessons to thrive and live your destiny now. That's also the title of her book. So she's going to be going through some of the things that she talks about in her book. Then Michelle McCullough is going to be doing social media blueprint for business. If you've ever felt overwhelmed or not knowing where to start or how to continue, where to pick it up, how to leverage it, how to measure it, how do you know it's working? What do you know it's not working so that you can correct it? Michelle's going to take you through all of that by discussing your social media blueprint for your business. And then my favorite part, well, one of my favorites, because we've had about 27 favorite parts right now, the Entrepreneur to CEO panel. This is something that we are going to be talking about. There happens a moment where you stop hustling or you become the ceiling of complexity for your own business. And then it's not about getting more time. It's not even about hiring more people necessarily, not yet, anyways. It's about you changing your mindset from being like the hustler or the technician to being the leader and the CEO of your company. Because a lot of times we are like, oh, my business, my business, my business. And it's not an actual company. You're not running an actual organization. So we're going to be talking about that in the Entrepreneur to CEO panel. Followed up with Trevor Ott's Building Your Evergreen Revenue Model, which is awesome because if you can disconnect your time and effort from your revenue potential, then you will be on your way to creating not only a company, like I just said, but also creating an income engine, a revenue engine that is independent of your effort and presence. And that, my friends, is the beginning of a legacy. That is the beginning of leaving something that your family, your employees, etc., can take advantage of and can leverage. We're going to follow that up with, oh my goodness, I have so many favorite pieces. The Soul Driven Success Panel. Now, the Soul Driven Success Panel is, we kind of started talking about that a little bit, Stacey, when we were talking in the relationship panel, because we talked a lot about faith. But the Soul Driven Success Panel, we're going to be talking about what place does your faith have in your business? Or like I like to say, what place does your business have in your faith? Because I believe that the faith is the foundation to everything else that we do in our lives. And then finally, I'll have my keynote, which is Create Your Money Breakthrough: 5 Steps to Sustainable Profits and Beyond. This is more than just sales. It's more than just infusing oxygen into your company. It's really about leveraging the income points, the revenue points that you have in your business. Some of that includes intellectual property. Some of it includes royalties and affiliates. I mean, we're going to get into it during my keynote as well. So you want to stay tuned for that. And first, throughout the day, we're going to have more interviews. Amy Walker will interview Michelle McCullough, so that you can get a little bit of more of a personal look into how Michelle runs her company and who she is as a person and as a leader. Naja will interview Dr. Stacey. Dr. Stacey interviewed me today, and then Naja will interview her tomorrow. And I will interview Amy, because Amy is one of our she's a dear, dear friend, an amazing leader. And just listening to her talking about her business and her clients, you know that this woman's mind is always working. So I want to get behind the scenes with you. I'll be your representative, as most of the interviewers are, and ask the questions that nobody else wants to ask. We're gonna go there with it. So again, go to watchnow2017.com. Make sure that you sign up for the All Access Pass, so that you have access to all of the recordings and you can get to them anytime without having to be in front of your computer anytime. And make sure that you text LOEW17 to the number 313131, so that we can make sure to get you the updates and sign you up for the freebies and the giveaways. How was that, Dr. Stacey?
Man, you nailed it. That's one of those slam dunk, the whole backboard just shattered all over the place, because you nailed it. All net, baby, all net. So I am just so excited about, can you all tell? I keep telling everybody, pray for me. Somebody's not praying hard enough. But I am so excited because this League of Extraordinary Women, Dr. Monica Gundo, this has been bigger than what we even thought, right? It's reaching people that we didn't know would reach. You all have been sharing it. I went to my Facebook page. I saw so many people reposting the video. This is a syndicated simulcast, so it's all over our personal pages. So we want to thank all of you who have been watching on Facebook. You've been watching on Watch Live Now. Watch Now 2017, and been a part of the dialogue. So here's the extra challenge. I want you to just review everything you've heard. Put your takeaways in the comments because some people didn't catch it. They
Mhm.
might have been at work, they might have been in transit, they missed a piece of what Naja shared, they might have missed a piece of Cheryl's keynote, they could have missed a piece this morning. You never know about how you can impact someone just by sharing your takeaways. Trevor loves to say that your takeaway could be somebody else's big breakthrough. So we're looking to
Mhm.
see that this League of Extraordinary Women, this space and time that will never be duplicated, is a benefit to you. So we're going to look for the hashtag LOWE. Did I say it right, Monica? You know, I got to get the brain right.
LOEW.
LOEW. Okay, a little dyslexia
Uh-huh.
in there. Pray for me. Okay, LOEW 17. Put the hashtag LOEW. You got me all messed up now. But we'll track the hashtag to know whether or not you had some takeaways. If there's anything that you want to learn more about, you can connect with all of these incredible women on social media, but go to the website because that's where you can get your all access pass. This is going to be key. You're going to wish. Some people will say, man, I'm so glad I tuned in, but I'm even happier that I bought my all access pass because I'm going
That's right.
back and revisiting the notes. I'm watching my benchmarks as this year progresses. You've heard Cheryl mention it. You've heard Monica mention, everybody talk about 12 to 36 months, that it takes some time. There's no overnight success. Trust me, I wish there was. But we have to do our part and do the work. And this will allow you an opportunity to have in your vault of brilliance all of this information, access to all of these trainers that are giving you tangible information, structure, and instruction that will yield the result that you're looking for. I'm always a student. I never think that I arrive and I know it all. I will continue to learn and grow as much as I share. What did Queen Maya Angelou say? Those who learn teach. So it's about sharing and teaching, and you can pay it forward. Who knows? This could inspire you to create your own opportunity for virtual learning. We never know where all of these good seeds are going to land. But Dr. Monica, the thing that I really love about what we're doing is that we're going to give this to someone in a country that doesn't have the same opportunities that we have, that can't, boldly proclaim their desire to be an entrepreneur, to build a business as a woman, and to be able to care for their families. And they might be by candlelight watching an excerpt from this. They may be by sneaking and hiding in their
Mhm.
to this so that they can change their family, change their community, and ultimately change their country. So this is much deeper than us being happy and exciting. And yes, I love to have a good time. And I wish I could just squeeze all of my sisters through the video screen. But what's deeper for me is the fact that I know this is going to have roots in the heart of someone who's going to change the world as a result of being a part of League of Extraordinary Women. So thank you for your support in advance. Be here
That's
bright and
right.
early in the morning. I'm going to go
I
drink
I
my
have a
hot
story
water and
about that,
lemon.
Stacey.
You do.
I have a story
Go
about that.
ahead.
I don't know if you remember the first time that I did the When Women Thrive virtual summit.
Hmm.
You were part of that,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
we hired a team of women in India to do our transcriptions. And
Wow.
so one of the contact people, my contact was the guy that was in the team. So there were like four people, three of them women. The guy was my contact, and so he kept pushing me. He was like, "When's the next one? And when's the next one? And when's the next one?" I'm like, "Dude, I will give you the MP3s when they're ready," you know. And at first I was just curious about it, but then I was like, "Okay, listen, what's the rush? I mean, is it because you need me to give you more billable hours? Like, right? Like, I'm thinking you want to get paid more or faster or something, right?" He said, "No, you don't understand. My mother, my sister, and my wife, those were the people that were in his team. They are loving listening to the calls and it's inspiring them. And your guys are giving us ideas about how to build our business and how to take this to the next level, things that we didn't even think were possible. So we want to keep it coming because this is part of our business planning in a way too." They say, "You know that I am a
Wow.
mush."
Yeah.
And when he said that, I was like, I was so touched. I was touched
That's
because
amazing.
I wanted to touch the people who were signing up for the telesummit. I wanted to touch the people who were in the audience of all of the guest speakers that we had invited. I had no idea that we were also touching the people that were behind the scenes. you know? And
Mm-hmm.
so to me, what the lesson for me, the walk away for me was, listen, you are not responsible for or
Hmm.
should even be interested in where your ripple effect is going. You
That's
have
right.
no control over that. Your job is just to show up in the brightest light, to give your best of your zone of genius, and to let the chips fall where they may. And so that's why one of the reasons why I'm saying you want to invest in the all access pass for yourself, of course, but also because you never know who you're going to be
Hmm.
touching when we scholarship one of those all access passes to somebody in a developing nation. It is amazing the
Absolutely.
work that goes on behind the scenes. And in this world of, social media and selfies and Instagram this and who likes what and da da da, that's all great and good for your personal sense of likability or validation. But at the end of the day, the things that are going to change the world aren't happening in front of a screen. They're happening behind the scenes. They're happening after we get off of this call or after we get off of the session. What are you now going to do with your life, with your marriage, with your business as a result of having listened to this? And so to be able to have access to this and having it be part of your success library so that you can go back to it again and again is part of not only nurturing yourself, but also nurturing those around you. So I'm just so delighted that
Absolutely.
I'm part of this mastermind play with you and the rest of the ladies and Shay and Trevor who supported us all throughout the day. And I can't wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow is an even bigger
Can't
day.
wait. It absolutely is. So, my last shout out, my auntie watched the broadcast. I'm so excited. She just recently retired and she's been doing different things and finding out what she wants to do with this new freedom. And she actually said that I've inspired her to not just retire, but to re energize into what her real passions are. And she actually tuned in to the League of Extraordinary Women. Monica, what a blessing and a compliment
Wow.
that is, because she didn't
Wow.
have to. And she shared it with her
Yeah.
friends. Oh, these are just the moments that make me turn into mush too. But that is it. Gear up. I'm excited. Thank you for that incredible recap. You are just the bomb.com. I love you more than words can say. And I keep telling you, there's nothing you can do about it. And
I'm
as
glad of it.
well, and Amy and Michelle and Naja and Cheryl and our two dudes, Shay and Trevor, this has been an awesome day. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we look forward to seeing you in the morning.
Bye, everybody. Be blessed.
Recording has stopped.